And welcome everybody to another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I am your host, Unsung, and joining me as always is my co-host, Ron Caniff, who is still rocking them shades as we head into the bye week. How are you doing today, sir?
Feeling fantastic.
Alrighty, awesome.
You're gonna find out later on just how fantastic I'm feeling about this team.
Oh, yeah, is that the case? All right, well,
yeah.
We can't wait to find out what that's going to be about. So before we dive too deep into it, let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and mention, of course, that our sponsor for this episode, as every other episode, is PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can pick up to 5 different players across professional sports leagues, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, if you want to, but you're going to have to wait for that. It's one of each. It's up to you. You can choose however you want. You just choose the over or the under on those individual players' fantasy projections, individual stats, fantasy point projections, whatever you want, and they'll even send you freebie picks. They'll offer you discounted picks. They'll offer you opportunities to go ahead and get all your money back if you mess up. There's all sorts of offers that they throw at you. It's hard to justify not signing up. Just make sure you use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, spell that out, FIVE, at prizepicks.com. So I think it's a safe bet at this point that if they ever give you the over on Tua throwing 2 touchdown passes, it's pretty safe bet for you from now on. Go ahead and go to prizepicks.com. That's FIVE. They will match up to $100 on your initial deposit. No rollover necessary. Just put it in and they give it back to you. Alrighty. So before we get too far into the tweets and all that other stuff, I want to make sure that I take a moment to bring up something. So for those of you guys who have been listening to me and Ron for a long time now, whether it's been this season or even in seasons past, you know that there's always been me, there's always been him, but there's one important person that's been missing the entire time. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest for tonight's show. It's our good friend. If you know him, you love him. It's Chad Ronenbaum, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, that was even a surprise for me. I had no idea. What's up, Chad?
There he is.
A lot. Enjoying being 7-3. That's what's up.
So for those that don't know, we have done the 3 of us have done podcasting together off and on for I don't know, 6 or 7 years, probably.
Forever and a half.
I remember our last time was Dolphins Brawl, right?
Yeah, that was the last time we were regularly doing it together was Dolphins Brawl. So it's a long time, but you know what? I'm very happy that I finally managed to get Chad on in here. I'm very excited. And I'm sure that there are going to be some people who come in here to watch this show and they're going to be like, I know that guy. I remember that guy. He's the guy who always had all the cool memorabilia in the back.
Yeah, that's right.
He's still back there.
Yeah, I kept it.
Yeah,
actually,
why would you get rid of it?
Right, my Tua memorabilia is going up in value, fortunately. So it's been a good year for that.
Oh yeah, so eventually one day you're going to be able to sell that for a lot of money if you want to.
I hope, yeah.
One thing that's interesting about the timing of this could not be perfect with my announcement, because Chad has always been the guy who, when I'm up here,
we go,
or down here, right? He's trying to bring me back to the middle. And I've been kind of a little bit, more high middle, but today I'm going high.
All right, I like it. I'll take that over low.
So I guess that means are we gonna be having a bet happening on this show? Are we gonna have a bet?
I don't know yet. We'll have to see what is.
Well, with the new Twitter rules, it might be hard for me to change my name to Dr. Lovecock. That's now gonna be a problem with the whole verification thing. So
I have to change mine. I think mine's Elon Musk right now. So.
Oh, is it for real?
No,
that's a good way to kick off Twitter.
I think there's 1,000 of them on Twitter right now. So yeah.
Oh, I know this has nothing to do with the Dolphins, but did you see the conversation with him and the singer Doja Cat?
I did not.
She sends out a tweet to Elon Musk. Please can I please let me change my name? I don't want to be Christmas forever. He said, sure. 30 minutes later, she can change it. And then she messages back, you're welcome, but had changed her name to Elon Musk.
Yeah, there are a lot of people trolling him, that's for sure. It's been fun to watch.
That's right. Oh, somebody there knows Dr. Lovecock.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an old thing where me and Chad, we would do bets, whatever the bet was, simple stuff like they're going to bring in a free agent for running back or not, or just little stuff like that. And if I would lose, which was most times, I had to change my Twitter name to Dr. Lovecock for a week.
Yeah,
yes,
I remember that.
Dr. Lovecock. Yes, there you go.
Oh my goodness gracious. It's so good to have you back, Chad. And you know what? Let's get right into it because I know that Cap for Life is already blowing up our comments here. So here's number one. This is just for you, man. Your thoughts about Jason Sanders. We have nothing to bleep about for the next 2 weeks. This is all I got. Take it or leave it. Okay. So talk about it, Chad. What the heck is going on with Jason Sanders? I mean, I think I know, but what's your thoughts?
Clearly he's in his own head. I would be surprised if we don't have a free agent in this week that like Chris Greer is working on a little bit and talking, because I mean it's one thing. I understand when you miss some 50-yard field goals, you know, that's part of football, but
he's missed 12 of the last 14 though, Chad. Just I know you're getting ready to talk about the other stuff, but he's missed 12 of the last 14 over 50. So that's its own problem.
Which is its own problem, but you know, but when you're missing like 27-yard field goals and you're missing extra points, you know, it's obviously not a physical issue. And you know, I was frustrated right at the start of the Cleveland game because, you know, you can blame some of that on the defense not being ready for what Cleveland did, but he did not kick the ball through the end zone, which is one of the reasons we have Jason Sanders, is his ability to kick the ball through the end zone, and he short kicked that, which resulted in a 50-yard return to start the game. And so that's as much on Jason Sanders as it is on the rest of the return team. So I don't know. To me, like if I'm the coach of the Dolphins right now, McDaniel, I would say I'll work with a guy who I feel comfortable can make it inside 45 consistently and give up the guy that can make it at 55 or something, just because you can't afford this season right now as a special team. We're 7-3. We have a real shot at making a Super Bowl run even. And you know, do you want to put that in the hands of a guy who's missing extra points right now? And I don't think you have much of a choice. You have to bring in some free agents. And if Chris Greer needs help, I would call Andrew Frank. He's got to be doing something right now. That guy was pretty good inside 45 yards.
Oh my God, Andrew Franks. Wow.
I'm just saying, there's got to be somebody out there that can make.
What's Greg Joseph doing? What's Caleb Sturgis doing?
Somebody, like most kickers in the NFL, there's quite a few names out there that can make 45 yards in consistently, and that's what we need more than anything right now, I think.
I've said over and over again, and I don't know. I think that the fact that he parted ways with his kicking coach, I don't know why. I don't know why he did it, but
Brent it is what it is now.
We've
got the reality of the problem now.
Yeah, he basically made it so that he was able to stay out of his own head. I feel like coaching matters, man. Like Mike McDaniel's proof perfect of exactly what it means to have a good coach. If you're not able to work with the special teams coach you got, and you are able to make a name for yourself and get paid because another kicking coach was in your ear helping you to fine tune those mechanics, I don't know why you'd walk away from that. I really, really don't. Like, unless he was like, hey, half of your contract, I want it. And like, now that would be a little ridiculous, but I seriously doubt that was the case. So I just don't know why he would move away from that. And now he's kind of paying the consequences, because ever since he left, been 2 years now, since then, he has not been the same. He has not been the same guy. He just hasn't.
I agree with Chad too. And I think I said this a couple weeks ago, that they would just work around Sanders for now. I think now with him missing extra points, they need to consider at least bringing in a kicker at this point. Even if you can't cut Sanders and you just have to make him inactive. I mean, they've been doing that with players a lot anyway. Even if you have two kickers and Sanders goes inactive and you bring the new kicker in to kick the short field goals and extra points, and we'll just work around the longer field goals with maybe a few more punts inside the 50 that we wouldn't normally do, but mostly McDaniel's going for it on fourth down a lot anyway.
4th and 8, we got this.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, he's not going to let Sanders kick anything. If he keeps Sanders, he's not going to let him kick anything over 45 for sure. And I think even over 40, he's really going to question, do I let him kick this field goal, or we just go for it on 4th down, unless it's just 4th and a mile because you had a sack or a penalty or something. I could just see him going for it on 4th down inside the 50, inside even the 40, a lot more than maybe he would. But I mean, how many times, and we bragged about it on the show, we'll keep talking about it. How many times on 3rd and long, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, where in the past, probably 75% or 80% of the time, that drive is dead. It is almost never dead with this offense. It's just crazy. The turnaround there. It's just Tua's going to make the right throw. every single time. It feels like on third down. He's the best quarterback in the league right now on third down. And it's by a mile over Patrick Mahomes. By a mile. It's crazy.
Speaking of which, Cap for Life, is Patty Mahomes in the way of Tua completing NFL immortality in only 10 weeks?
Yeah. So are we done with, if we're done with the Jason Sanders, I would say,
we're not that organized here, Chad.
Yeah.
We're just
going
to around.
I guess for me, I think Tua belongs in the MVP conversation, of course, and with that stuff, but I don't get too caught up on it right now. Patrick Mahomes is definitely deserving of it, even though he's thrown a couple rough picks. Josh Allen is still. I think the story to me is, this time last year we're talking about, is Tua a starter in this league? The media out there, a lot of people were perceiving Tua as not even a starting caliber quarterback, and that argument now is shifted to, is he the best quarterback in the NFL right now? And to me, that's the story. Is Tua better than Patrick Mahomes? I mean, maybe I've been around too long, but I've been through Cleo Lemon and Ray Lucas and AJ Feely. Like the bottom 5 quarterbacks in the league for years. And so now, we're arguing if he's the top quarterback in the league, and I'm still on cloud 9. We've got even a top 10 quarterback right now, and Tua clearly is a top 5 quarterback the way he's playing right now.
Look at the title of this video. The title of this video says it all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
He's elite. He's done.
Yeah, 100%.
Tua Tagovailoa is an elite quarterback in this NFL. He is.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I don't know how else you measure elite other than, does he have to win a Super Bowl or something like that? But he's, by all other measurables and stats, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the game right now.
By the eye test, by the stats, by the results. Like, the only way you don't say that Tua is an elite quarterback is if you are somebody like Stephen A. Smith or Colin Cowherd or Keyshawn Johnson, who is going out of the way to purposely say this stuff just so they can get more clicks. There's no way.
I get Keyshawn. I mean, he played for the Jets for quite a while, so he just he's not gonna like the
Dolphins hater.
Yeah, so I don't think it's specific necessarily to Tua, that it's just really difficult for that man to give credit to any of the Dolphins. But when it comes to like those talking guys, like I say, Skip Bayless or Colin or Stephen A. What you're seeing, in my opinion, is those are big basketball guys. They're NBA guys. And they view sports that way right now.
So the Cowboys every single freaking show.
I know Skip Bayless likes the Cowboys, but look at they've talked a lot about NBA basketball in their careers, and so you see a guy like LeBron James or Steph Curry, and it's a 5-man on the court sport, and so one guy that's elite directly impacts the team or the game drastically. You add LeBron James to your team, and you're drastically better. But when you get into the NFL, it doesn't work that way. It's 11 guys. And, Patrick Mahomes doesn't equate to LeBron James in his impact in the game. You got to have complete teams. And so I think they miss that a lot. And they look at so much the intangibles, like how strong is his arm, how big is he, and those sorts of things. And quarterbacking is about knowing how to read pre-snap and getting the ball out on time where it's supposed to go. And I think we're finally seeing Tua is there with that. He's always been a guy that once the ball is snapped, he processes really fast. The ball comes out really fast. It just took him a little bit to, I think, learn how to read defenses. Yeah, Ron does look like the Terminator.
I'll be back.
I'll be back to destroy your anti-Tua takes.
Right, Tua hater. Tua, I call him now Tua deniers. I don't call it Tua hater. It's Tua denier.
If you like that scope of right now, the Tua hater, retribution, there's a Twitter account out there called Dolphins Receipts. I don't know.
We talked about it last week.
I follow that, and I laugh all the time with the number of people blocking them, but it is fun to watch him pull up some of these what were legitimately bad takes by people. Because I think for the most part, this group here, we've always known Tua's he's a solid quarterback, but just some of the narratives out there were so inaccurate, and so it's been kind of fun to watch them back.
That's the point I'm making. If like people are going to complain that Dolphins fans are being way over the top, ridiculous, and yet we probably are.
You reap what you sow.
Exactly, but we're only reacting to the ridiculous hyperbolic takes you had before the season started, like he can only throw it 10 yards, and Tyreek Hill might as well have retired than go to Miami. And he's worse than Gardner Minshew, and he's the 40th best quarterback in the league. And all this ridiculousness that came out. So, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah, Dolphins fans are shoving it in your face now because you were just so far off. Now, had most people's takes been, I'm just not sure about him. He seems, maybe he's a little small sometimes. Maybe his arm's not as strong. I'm just not sure.
We haven't seen it happen yet. We haven't seen it happen
yet. I mean, I don't know if he can bring out what he did in Bama into the NFL.
Those are reasonable.
Like to see him with a better coach. If that had been more the takes, which those takes would definitely have been more accurate, because I think even a lot of Dolphins fans were like, yeah, we're not sure. We don't know. Maybe he can squeak into like a top 10, blah, blah, blah. I think that was even on a best case scenario. Very few people were thinking this guy could be a top 1, 2, 3 quarterback in the league, even his supporters. So if that had been more the line on him in general, I just don't think you'd see such an overreaction from Dolphins fans, including myself. Trust me, I'm out there on Twitter every single day, just blasting away. And it's because these people deserve it.
No, at some point you have to pay the piper.
If you guys want a pointed comment, if you want to do a little more, on this Dolphin receipts and the haters, I took a little offense to Peter King's tweet this week, where Peter King was basically ripping on the Dolphins a little bit, saying, why are you going after the media members so much? Why don't you just enjoy the ride right now? And I want to be very clear on this. Peter King is kind of known in history to be a pretty big Dolphins guy, right? He knows guys inside the building, and he's covered the Dolphins for a long time. Peter King's in bed with Mike Florio, and make no mistake about that. And he needs to own up to that, because Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk has had an agenda against Tua from the start. And if you're paying attention, you're well aware of that. Like,
did he delete that tweet? I'm trying to find it. I don't see it.
I'll have to track it down. I don't have it in front of me. But Peter King basically tweeted out to the Dolphins fan base that you need to stop putting all these receipts and going.
Joy Taylor said the same thing yesterday on FS1. Yeah. She said something about this receipt culture is getting ridiculous. Then own up. Say you were wrong. Don't say ridiculous stuff.
I can deal like the guys that get paid that go on controversial topics all the time. Like Skip Bayless. I don't take offense to Skip Bayless' take. He has takes like that on all kinds of people, right? That's what he gets paid for and how he generates his clicks. But Peter King used to be a well-respected member in the Miami media. And I'm telling you right now, the guy's a fraud at this point, because he gets on with Mike Florio all the time and does interviews with Mike Florio. And if you guys remember back even to Tua's rookie year, I've paid attention to this guy. Tua had started like 2 games. I don't know if you guys remember this. He beat the Rams in the first game he played. And I can't remember who he won the next week. And then he granted an interview to Mike Florio, a Pro Football Talk, where he did like 2 or 3 minutes at least of different topics. And Mike Florio cut out the expert where he said, I found this game to be slower than I expected. And that was all that got published, and that was everywhere. I don't know if you guys remember that on his rookie
year. I do
year.
Remember that comment. I do remember
that was directly from Mike Florio. And then Mike Florio created a lot of narratives during the Deshaun Watson stuff that were getting picked up by like Rich Eisen, which weren't even fact. They were narratives being generated by Mike Florio. And if you even watch him now, he keeps changing the goalpost right now on Tua. Like it was before, like, I just don't think Tua is going to be able to come back from this concussion. Should he be playing? And now the narrative is like, which this was, I loved today, where I believe it was Jason Garrett made him look kind of like a fool, where he just said Tua is at some point going to have to make a really big pass in a really big game. I don't know if you guys saw that this last
Jason
day.
Garrett, you said?
And Jason Garrett came out and just said, you mean like come in at halftime of the national title game and throw a pass with the game on the line and win the national title? Like, and basically he said, I wouldn't bet against this kid. But anyway, I'll get off of this soapbox, but to me, Peter King shouldn't be talking at all, because he's making money and he's in bed with Mike Florio, and that removes any credibility he has in the Miami media, in my department. So anybody out there who's listening to Miami media, Peter King has no business saying how people shouldn't be calling him out on his takes.
Mark Popelka. I turned on the Comedy Channel one day, and all these guys you're talking about were on there. Yeah, it's kind of turning into that. It's like it's honestly very funny to watch how desperately they twist and turn to make it seem like, well, even though he's doing good, here's why he's not. It's like,
and now the big thing is just saying December. That December. Oh, Tua is good. But December. Tua is gonna get cold. December. Like as if the teams that are really good right now have any better running game than Miami. As if Josh Allen and the way they're playing right now that's going to be better suddenly in December. I mean, come on, it's so ridiculous. As if the Dolphins have never won games in December or won games when it was cold.
Historically speaking, they struggled.
Historic snow games. I mean, last time I think we were in one was Pittsburgh and we won it. I mean, this thing that the Dolphins can't play in December, can't play in the snow. Man, it's all they got left. That and apparently our fans in the stands were mean to Cleveland fans. That's it. That's all they have left. They have nothing left anymore. December's over.
I did see that tweet. It's like, oh, I've never met a more hostile fan base than the Dolphins. Dude, you're in our stadium. What do you expect us to do?
Yeah, and when December's over, we're the number one seed in the AFC. What are they going to say then? I mean, got to do it in the playoffs, right?
I'm not too. Yeah, I mean, December the Dolphins have struggled, but I believe the reason more so than the actual temperature is we haven't not had good run games in recent years at all, and
or rotten coaching in general,
or a good team. But you can't, some of the throws that the Dolphins are doing, you can't do. And I've watched it painfully. I remember a game with Joe Philbin. I think Ryan Tannehill was hurt. We were playing at Buffalo, and it was like 20 or 30 mile an hour wind. And he's marching out there 3 wide and trying to throw 15 and 20-yard passes, and they're floating. And you have to be aware of what you can and can't do in the elements. And, Miami's going to have to be able to play some short game. And I feel like we can. Like, it's not like Tyreek Hill is a stranger to playing in cold weather and doing well in cold weather. And I think adding Jeff Wilson was huge in the last few weeks because we didn't have, I think, a physical enough running game. And I think he's added that element now. So I think I read Buffalo ran the ball like twice in the whole second half or something, or maybe it was the fourth quarter against Minnesota. And that literally cost them the game. You can't keep having Josh Allen play backyard football the whole time trying to bail you out. And was it 1st and 10 when he threw that pick to end the game?
I wasn't watching the game. I was doing the post game with Troy.
It was either first or second down. Back there. I mean, he threw a low percentage pass when they had the ball and plenty of time. And to me, I'm like, run the ball a little bit. And I think Miami is a better running team than Buffalo, which
absolutely.
And
we're a better running team than Buffalo.
Does Buffalo want it? It might be interesting to see how Buffalo does this weekend because they are playing in that elements than what I'm reading forecast wise against Cleveland. It's going to be snowy and cold. So,
and remember they had that terrible game in Buffalo last year against New England, where New England just ran the ball the entire time. And what did Buffalo try and do?
Mac Jones throw 3?
He only threw 3 passes, completed 1. But what did Buffalo go and do? They went out there and tried to run their normal offense.
You're right,
and they lost. They lost against a team that threw the ball 3 times, and it wasn't because New England's run game was so amazing. It's because Buffalo was the one that couldn't play in the weather.
Yeah.
Because they weren't able to change up what they were doing because they don't have a run game. That was really the problem. But I like how all of a sudden it's Miami that won't be. Yeah, okay. We're not going to be bombing it for 50 yards, but to Tyreek and Waddle. But we proved not only just in this past week, we proved we can run the ball. We've proved that we can throw it shorter, and we proved that we can throw to other guys besides Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Right.
Just in this game alone. So we're getting ready for the December games, and I'm looking forward to it. Sure. I'm looking forward to shutting some mouths, and then we'll hear, but January, right? That'll be the next one.
Yeah, January.
I think in January. We'll be there in January, and we'll be at home, by the way, except for the first week when we're watching all these other fools play when we have the bye.
Yeah, right. Getting Jeff Wilson was a big testament for getting ready for December in my mind in those cold weather games because he has transformed the running game. He's much more physical, and there was probably 2 or 3 runs I saw just in the Cleveland game that he made. I mean, obviously the big hitters are fun to watch when it's 10 plus yards, but the ones that really hit me are when there's like there's not a great hole there. And if you would have had Edmonds running it, it's going to be 2nd 10 or maybe 2nd 9. And Jeff Wilson gets that yak yards where it's 2nd 7.
And Cap for Life made sure to mention that I should be very thankful about the new bell cow and Jeff Wilson being here. So basically, everybody.
Yeah.
I spent so much time blowing smoke up Raheem Mostert's you know what, and here comes Jeff Wilson. Just like it wasn't Kareem Hunt, but it was the same result. Suddenly, Raheem Mostert's running back 2 again. So
I still say that Jeff Wilson was. I still say Jeff Wilson was going to be better for us than Kareem Hunt. That's what I
agree.
From the very beginning.
Did you say something controversial just now?
Snap.
Ron, did you say something? What did you say? Because they're saying I shouldn't let you get away with it. What did you say?
Yeah, that's all part of what I need to talk about later. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about when we're sitting at home and on that bye week, the first week. That's what he's talking about.
Okay, I mean, you know what? For real, I honestly don't know, man. Like, we honestly could. Like, I'm sorry, Matthias, if you want me to call Ron on it, I mean, we could. We really, really could. Hello, Cap. Yes, we're acknowledging you. We see you, man. Believe me, we gotta have a show. And by the way, where's Manny? Manny's got some personal things going on, so I'm stepping in for him in the producer role. Send him some love. I'm sure that he will appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into some actual tweets here, because again, the tweets are kind of the main reason for the game. So of course, I asked a very simple question: how's everybody feeling going into the bye week? Let me go ahead and pull this up here. So here's the first one that we're going to have today. It's from Finn Runner. So the first thing we got to do, we're going to get healthy, shore up the defense, and make the push to the playoffs. Okay, yeah, the health, gentlemen. Good Lord have mercy. The health of these Miami Dolphins. Emmanuel Ogbah, he's gone for the season. What was it he tore? His tricep. So that's gone. So no more Emmanuel Ogbah. And Ben Stilley, Stilley was going to be our replacement. And Cleveland decided, you know what? Screw you. We're going to take your kid.
I thought that Stilley was going to be the guy that they called up. And it almost
Cleveland got revenge. He's like, you know what? You're going to embarrass us. We're going to go ahead and take your promising young defensive end. What do you think about that?
I'm really curious what they do now, because they absolutely need to bring in some sort of replacement. And I thought that Stilley was going to be the guy, but clearly not.
They'll be all right. I mean, it depends what kind of front they're running. I mean, Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins can play DN in power fronts. What it tells me, though, is holy cow, was it critical that we made that Bradley Chubb trade? Because we would be hurting if we had lost Ogbah and we didn't have Bradley Chubb, because as much as Melvin Ingram's been an impact player, he's not a 60 snap player.
No,
I mean, he's 30.
No, he wasn't. He was not supposed to be.
But he's gonna be one of those names you see, make plays in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you know what he reminds me of? Going back, this is into the early mid 90s. There was a player, Charles Haley. You guys remember him at all of him?
No. And he was I developing eyelids yet?
That's because me and Chad are old, Lewis.
But he was a guy in his mid late 30s towards the end of his career, and he played on the contenders. It'd be like Dallas or the 49ers. And that's all he was there for. He was an old guy that was just good at rushing the passer and didn't play every snap. And that's kind of the role that Melvin Ingram is playing for the Dolphins. And for whatever reason, they put that guy in there for those limited snaps, and he just seems to make a play, doesn't he? Like, he pressures the quarterback or makes a big tackle. And
he was the only one who got to Justin Fields against the Bears. He had to body slam him to do it, but he was the one who got there.
Yeah, he does. He gets in there. But, again, he
gets there in limited snaps, too, because he's not playing, like you mentioned, Chad. He's not playing every down, but when he's in there, he's effective.
It's nice, and it's a luxury when you have, before him it was Ogbah. Now you have Bradley Chubb. You're bringing him in when it's obvious passing downs and he's fresh. So what a nice little perk that is. So, but again, like, to me, it's well worth the picks now and the money for Bradley Chubb that Emmanuel Ogbah is out, because that would have impacted, I think, our ability to both set the edge appropriately in the run games and get some pressure out of 4-man rushes. And we've actually upgraded, in my opinion, and Bradley Chubb's a special player to have in there, because he's good at both those things, at both setting the edge and rushing the passer off the edge. So, good player.
I mean, Ogbah can do both too, but as far as rushing the passer goes, Bradley Chubb is obviously superior. And now,
I've got a stat for you. I got a great stat.
You got a number for us?
Oh, I got a number for you.
Hit me
it's only been 2 weeks, but since we got Bradley Chubb over the last 2 weeks, the Dolphins have a 44% pressure rate, rushing with 4, number 1 in the NFL.
What was the number before Chubb showed up?
I don't know, man. I only care what it is now.
You got that number from Alf, didn't you?
I promise you it wasn't number 1 in the NFL. That's all I know.
Okay.
That kind of sounds like that kind of profiles like a Super Bowl team to me. I'm just saying.
The Dolphins are absolutely a Super Bowl contender.
I'm sure I'm going to come in here in a moment. It's like, what did you just say?
You say this when you're talking about Super Bowl contenders. I know Buffalo was the favorite all season basically, and now
when you say Miami, we're talking Super Bowl.
Well, there's a lot to be done. Miami needs, obviously we got to take care of business and beat a Houston team. I don't think that even wants to win. I think they're more interested in getting the first overall pick in a franchise quarterback.
They're playing for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Right?
I think so, but I think after that game, if we lose to the 49ers, I'm not too worried, but we need to beat the Chargers. And if we beat the Chargers,
I'm not worried about the Chargers.
I'm not worried. I think we'll beat them. But if we beat the Texans and the Chargers, even if we don't take the division, we're in really good shape in the tiebreakers and the wild cards. And so that's a big game in my mind, is to beat the Chargers. But for Buffalo, what's not really being talked about is they haven't won a game in the AFC East yet. They've lost to us and they've lost to the Jets. They've got 2 games coming against the Patriots. And I've got news for you. If you think the Patriots are going to lie down for the Buffalo Bills, you got another thing coming. Those are not going to be easy games.
They are a pesky team. If the playoffs were held right now, the entire AFC East, to obviously include the New England Patriots, would be. And remember when the AFC West was the division that everyone somehow magically was winning 12 or more games, and they were all going to the playoffs, and the rest of the playoffs were only going to be the division winners in the AFC? Interesting. If the playoffs were held right now, only the Chiefs would be in. The rest of them wouldn't be in, and the entire AFC East would be in.
I can tell you, nobody in the NFL wants to play the Patriots right now in sub 30-degree weather because they're built for it. And they can't score points. They don't have
their
skill
quarterback
players.
Is still Mac Jones, Chad.
Well, I agree, but if you're just playing inside 15 yards on your passes, Mac Jones is great at that. And so just throwing short passes, power running the football over and over, and playing 12-man personnel. That's what the Patriots are built for. I'm not saying the Patriots are the Super Bowl great team, but I am saying they're not a fun team to play in the cold. And that's what Buffalo's going to have to do, is play the Patriots 2 times yet in the cold, as well as us and the Jets, who they've already lost to. And so you can't even talk about Buffalo right now in the Super Bowl until they take care of business within the division, and they're 0-2 right now in the AFC East.
Yeah, you rarely see a Super Bowl team go, say, even 3-3 in their division, right? Or 2-4. Like, has there been? I'm sure maybe there has, but it's probably rare that you'd see a team that goes to the Super Bowl be 2-4 in their division. That's almost never. If you don't take care of business in your division, generally, you're not going to go to the Super Bowl. Now, do wildcard teams go to the Super Bowl? Sure, but I bet you they weren't 2-4 in their division, or even 3-3.
I don't think many 2-4 teams in their division make the playoffs. Typically, that's
generally not. Even if you're a wildcard team, sometimes you'll have a really good record, but the team right above you will have an even better record because it just happens to be 2 really good teams in the division. That does happen. It happens with the Titans and the Colts back in the day. And we saw, obviously, the Ravens in the year that they went ham with their defense. They were a wild card team. They didn't even win their division, but they were like 4-2 in their division, and they won 12. They were 12-4 that year. Yeah, they just happened to have, I think it was the Steelers were a little better that year during the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not saying Buffalo's not a contender. I'm just saying that you can't overlook that they've got to play all those AFC East games yet against everybody's good. The Jets are not a joke either. And obviously they've already beat Buffalo with Josh Allen. And so
except for the Vikings game, the only games they've lost have been AFC East teams. So
right.
They lost to us, they lost to the Jets, and then they somehow managed to lose to the Vikings.
I think our team's, like, honestly, watching that Vikings game, we were handing it to the Vikings that game.
My Lord, we played so much better than the Vikings in that game.
I obviously I'm not a professional coach, but it takes a lot of prep time during the week that you're getting the timing of your plays down and the execution of your plays down. And that was the second game in a row where, like, immediately you're getting your starting quarterback that you're planning on playing removed immediately, and in that Vikings game, would we lose Thompson in the first quarter or the second quarter, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was the second quarter, and I was getting ready to get on the plane to go see my well, I guess I can say it now, my fiance, to go to Texas. And like I was in the sports bar with my father and my brother watching that game, and I saw him go down, and I was like, this is a joke. Right?
I know.
It's like 2 weeks in a row we lose the quarterback who was supposed to start the game to an injury.
But I haven't. I guess my point is I haven't seen a team where we've obviously outplayed against. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the Jets or the Bengals or the Vikings. They're all three of those are good football teams. But it wasn't like, you know, when we didn't have Tua in there, we were like our guys were just getting pushed around, and we were clearly not on the same level talent wise. So I'm not really afraid of anybody in the playoffs. And so like I'm hoping we get to play the Chiefs. We almost beat the Chiefs when Tua was a rookie, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
I want to see the matchup. I want to see the rematch, because this is not the same Tua that showed up last year.
Yeah, and there's one huge key factor that's different. There's a dude that was really good on the Chiefs that's going to be facing the other direction.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a factor for them for sure. Yeah, I'm honestly just not scared. I'm no longer scared of
anybody.
Any team.
I'm not scared of anybody.
No, I'm not scared of anybody. The only game that has me a little nervous, and some of that is just more how good a coach he is and the familiarity that they have with each other, is that Niners game. If I was going to pick one game that we could lose the rest of the way, that would be the one I'd pick.
Can McDaniel Shanahan better than Shanahan?
Well, I mean, look, the Niners
that's tough because a lot of these coaches have not always been able to.
It's the Niners are a good team now. I mean, there's no way around that. I mean, when you add McCaffrey with Deebo Samuel, there is a lot of creative stuff they can do. And
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
For all the talk we heard about how wonderful and how special Deebo Samuel is, you know whose name I haven't heard a whole lot this year?
Well, he's been hurt, right? I think he was hurt for a while, but he's good. I
know he's good, but it's like we're acting like Deebo Samuel is going to revolutionize the NFL as we know it. Dude, it sounds like Tyreek Hill's doing all the work. I don't have when have I last heard Deebo's name even mentioned in discussion?
I think that's more of a Mike McDaniel thing, to be honest. I think he's a very innovative coordinator, and I could go off on why I think Mike McDaniel's is really, really good, but
I want you to.
So
I'm here for it.
Well, we've had the whole like Adam Gase was an offensive guru, right? And we saw obviously that he wasn't.
Yeah,
and a lot of those you're basing it on scheme, right? X's and O's, or I'm going to do a rub route and get a guy open. And what Mike McDaniel does is he's a master at creating leverage on offense and in putting his players in position. And what I want you to watch next time you're watching a Dolphins game is when he brings Tyreek Hill in motion, right? Tyreek Hill doesn't just jog across the formation. He sprints across the formation, and he's fast. And that creates horizontal stretch like you would not believe, because if you see a guy chasing Tyreek Hill across the formation, it's going to telling you he's in man coverage. Think of the stress that puts on the other side of that defense, because if he turns and he swing passes it to Tyreek Hill, or they hand it off on the end around to Tyreek Hill, do you think a corner chasing him across the formation is fast enough to beat him to around the edge of the sideline? He simply is not. And so that puts stress on the corner on the other side. You've created leverage. And now you've got Jalen Waddle sitting over there who might run a 9 route. Is your corner going to stay up to defend Tyreek Hill coming around? That spaces the linebackers out. It spaces the safeties out. And that effectively allows us to run those guard tackle gaps. And he does motion all throughout the game, whether it's a pitch or where he's moving a fullback around or a tight end around. And he's doing all those little motions, not just to confuse the defense on what the play call is, but he's putting the offensive players in leverage positions. And he is a master at not just creating the vertical stretch down the field with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's the horizontal stretch, because you have to respect how fast those guys are around the edge. And you throw in Raheem Mostert in there with how fast he can get the edge. It makes an offense that's incredibly hard to stop, because where are you trying to position your guys? And if you put them in man, can you cover Tyreek Hill in man? Can you cover Jalen Waddle in man?
No.
And when you put motion, you're going to see if those guys are covering them in man, and Tua seeing if they're in man. And So I guess my point is McDaniel isn't coming in with these special trick plays like that somebody like Adam Gase was supposed to be known for, where I'm going to fool the defense. He's running more basic RPO stuff, but he's doing it out of formations that really utilize Waddle and Hill and put them in leveraged positions that make them really hard to cover. And I think maybe San Francisco's missed a little bit of that because he was really good at doing that with Deebo Samuel. And but I still think that's going to be a really interesting game to watch because it's not an easy task to stop Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel on the same offense. They're both fast, they're both talented, and
they're both hurt.
Well, I mean, we'll see where they're at in that game. But that being said, it's a game we can afford to lose. I don't want to lose the game, of course, but we need to beat the Chargers, not the 49ers in the playoff picture.
Yeah, so that's more important for our playoff picture. If you had to pick one team to beat, it's more important that we knock Chargers down a peg, maybe even keep them out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and obviously the Miami Twitter people that get all into that debate, they would love to see Tua beat Herbert. That would
of course again.
No, Javier Suarez, Twitter's going to be very fun when Tua outplays Justin Herbert.
And Tua is beyond a doubt outplaying him this year. And a lot of the Herbert fans are coming out, oh, but the rookie records. This just in, the year before, or was it 2 years before? Baker broke all the same rookie records. I mean, those rookie records, the rookie quarterbacking records have been broken the last 3 out of 5 seasons. That isn't like a big deal anymore. It's not like you brought in Dan Marino who put in, records, and then the next year had records that stayed for like 2 decades. It's not like that situation. It's like, come on, wake up, people. Herbert is exactly, all these quarterbacks are pretty much, for the most part, what we saw them to be in college. Right. Like Tua's clutch. Tua makes the right throw at the right time. Tua is accurate as can be. Tua can read defenses. Tua can make the throw to the guy who's just sprinting across the field. I mean, this has to be such a perfect throw, and he makes it every time. That's what he did in college. Herbert, huge arm, can make throws like no one else in this league, but has a tendency to kind of choke it up in the fourth quarter and to make some bad throws and to make some bad plays because he trusts himself too much. He trusts his arm too much. He improvises too much. Like a lot of these guys, it's been what we saw them do. Burrow, he's just a big time thrower of the football. When you see Burrow having the most success in the NFL,
he's a big time thrower of Ron. He's a big time thrower of the football who has spent probably 40 total snaps without Jamar Chase in his life.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you just see him make these special kinds of throws a lot of times, what propelled them to the NFL. And it's the same thing you saw him do at LSU in his last year at college. It's the same. These guys are all the same. And so it shouldn't be a shock that Tua's doing what he's doing with the right coaching and players around him because he did it in college. It shouldn't be a shock to see Herbert doing what he's doing because a lot of these mistakes he made in college. They're the same guys, just the next level up.
Yeah, I don't like to me that it's a special class. I think Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. I think Tua and Jalen Hurts, for that matter, they're all good quarterbacks. Tua and Herbert are a lot different types of quarterbacks. And
Tua, Chad, I used to think that. But as I've watched Tua more and starting to get into a rhythm, I'm starting to kind of reevaluate my stance. Tua is Drew Brees if Drew Brees was a gunslinger. Because Tua will take shots. Yeah. Tua will take shots.
Oh, Tua he's different. What Tua's so people are looking at the immeasurables.
Like I'm starting to reevaluate a little bit. I'm starting to think, you know what? Tua is a gunslinger too. He just doesn't have the Herbert arm for it.
To me, Tua, Ron hit one of the most important intangibles is, does your quarterback have the nerve to make the big throws when the game's on the line?
The middle of the field, where a lot of quarterbacks are scared to throw the ball. Tua's throwing it all over the middle of the field because you don't have the protection of the sideline. You have to read the defense more. You have to you have to be way better at knowing what the defense is doing to continuously throw the ball in the middle of the field versus throwing it on the sidelines.
Hold on. What's this? Is this who is this a Jets fan or are we being trolled?
Zach Wilson.
I don't know. That's fine. He's
I mean, maybe. I mean,
clearly
maybe
not true.
That's clearly not true.
Maybe
right
a flirting. I don't know.
I'm not a
being
Zach
a quarterback.
Wilson.
I don't even know if Zach Wilson is better at quarterback than his mom's best friend at this point.
He's better at flirting. I'll give him that.
I think
He's
the
better
Zach
at
Wilson
smack talk.
debate is up against Mac Jones right now. Like Tua and Josh Allen are on a different level than Zach Wilson. But Herbert, the debate to me is somewhat foolish because to me they're both good young quarterbacks right now. But Herbert, right now that's the monkey on Herbert's back is he's yet to win some big games with some big throws, but he's lost several now where you've seen him throw devastating picks at the end of games, when they're trying to win the game. And you don't see Tua do that very often where he throws the interception that loses the game, right? Tua, though, I think that gets overlooked in the media, which he's had since he was a rookie, has incredibly fast post-snap processing speed. You got to realize like how quickly Tua is able to go through progressions and how quickly the ball comes out of his hands. And I've actually read the stat that Tua has a faster release than Marino had, which he was known for that, right?
Whoa!
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying I've read that if they timed
statistically, he does have a faster release than Marino had.
Like it comes out now, and
it looks different Herbert, though because he's left-handed, so your brain doesn't register.
People don't get the left-handed. It looks.
Yeah,
funny,
if he was right-handed, you would see it a little bit better, but people's brain doesn't register.
There was a guy on Twitter that did the mirror, so you watched.
Yeah, he was a neurologist.
Oh, no, yeah.
It looks good, right?
You've seen Danny. You know Danny. Like he's been around. He's the one who wrote that article.
Oh, right.
Your brain is trained. Your brain is trained to not like the left-handed quarterback.
It doesn't look right, but remember a couple weeks ago, Mina Kimes, I believe it was that her that said that?
What did she say this time?
The almost threw. Well, I was just going to
the almost interception.
Almoststats.com.
Do you want to know a part of the reason though is why Tua's interceptions get dropped more than other? Because the ball spins the opposite direction. It's counterclockwise. It's coming out of his hand left-handed, and it's a little bit different.
It's just like you want the left-handed punter, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying like Marino sometimes was hard to pick off because he threw the ball so hard, right? And because Marino was in his time throwing the ball harder than the majority of those D-backs were used to seeing, they dropped his interceptions a lot because they weren't used to catching a ball coming at that velocity. It's the same thing with Tua. They're not used to intercepting a ball that's spinning counterclockwise out of a left-handed quarterback's hand. That's why they get dropped more. That's just realistic. And that's why the receivers have to get used to Tua because the ball's spinning the other direction when you go to catch it. And so I don't know if they do this, but if you're repping a jugs machine, I wonder if they reverse it for the receivers so it spins the other way. I'd be curious to know it, but I was just going to say, as Mina Kimes was saying, he's dropping him. Like that's one of the things that's an advantage to having Tua is we have a left-handed quarterback, and it also it messes up, I think, the defensive backs, especially the safeties, a little bit because Tua's natural roll out is to the left, and if you're a safety, you're used to kind of fading to the right because you're used to a right-handed quarterback who, if he goes to the left, then he has to turn and throw across his body. When Tua's rolling to the left, he's money. Tua rolling left is dangerous because he doesn't have to throw across his body and he's accurate. But are your safeties on defense mentally used to flowing left, and on their side it'd be to the right, but are they used to flowing the opposite direction when the play breaks down? Because Tua's natural tendency is going to be to run to the left when the play breaks down versus the right where most quarterbacks are going to do it. So I'm just pointing out those are little intangibles he has. And to me, he's way faster than Justin Herbert at post-snap processing and getting the ball out. You watch Justin Herbert, to me, he has a pretty slow release. He has to wind up a little bit. On the flip, Justin Herbert's a much bigger quarterback. He's harder to sack. He can take off and run and be like a Josh Allen sort of guy where he can truck a linebacker or a safety. And Justin Herbert has an absolute cannon. He absolutely has a stronger arm than Tua, but doesn't matter that much. It's not how far you can throw the ball on the field. It's that you're bringing it out at the right time to hit a guy in stride down the field. And you think about athletes, the strongest arm quarterback I ever saw was Jeff George. You probably never even heard of this guy. But
I actually have heard of him.
Yeah, Jeff George. Now that dude had a release. That
was the strongest arm, pretty release. He had a cannon, but what would you say average at best quarterback?
But a lot of Jeff George's issues were up here in his head.
Well, I'm just saying, if I start naming off the GOATs, right? Okay, so nobody's going to argue Tom Brady. Do you find Tom Brady as having an exceptional athletic ability and a cannon for an arm?
No.
I don't see Tom Brady.
He has
How
a good
about
arm,
ever
and
since the
it
White
stayed
Witch
good
left
for
him, he's been
25
pretty
years.
awful. So
he's got an NFL arm. So does Tua.
Yeah.
Like he can make those passes, but would say Tom Brady's arm is not close to Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes, even in his prime.
Absolutely not.
And aging rapidly, Chad. The
Yeah,
White
but
Witch's curse has gone.
he's
no
clearly
oomph.
done a lot more than those guys though in his career. And so let's throw out some of the other greats. How about Drew Brees? Does he have a cannon for an arm and a lot of athletic ability?
He's got Tua's arm.
Well, Matthew Smith pointed out that Tua is not even the best left-handed quarterback. Let's throw out one
Steve
who
Young.
may be Steve Young.
To be fair, Steve Young is a Hall of Famer, a Super Bowl winner or an MVP.
The list of names is not
very
crazy.
Long.
It's not a long.
That's realistic.
It's not a long list.
Right.
Michael Vick, Steve Young. Who else can you think of?
But again, to me, each quarterback has their own talents, right? And Patrick Mahomes, I think, has ruined the NFL a little bit because Patrick Mahomes does things that are insane when the play breaks down.
He's an alien.
Yeah, and so
it's crazy.
But you don't win games like how well your quarterback plays when the plays break down. That's an intangible.
Like
but you want a quarterback that reads right, puts the ball in the right locations on the right timing, and that's what Tua is excelling at right now. He's putting the ball in the right spots on the right time, and if you put balls in the right locations, they don't get picked off. Not very often. And you saw some unbelievable passes in that Cleveland game. I mean, that out to Jalen Waddle. That is a throw that is not easy to make when that guy breaks on the ball like that. And Tua just had the ball placed where he couldn't pick it off. And on that touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield, it's the placement. If Trent Sherfield doesn't catch that, what happens? It's an incomplete pass, right? He just put it right on the money where only he could catch it perfectly. And Tua is excelling at that stuff right now. And I don't know that a quarterback like Justin Herbert has that kind of touch right now to make those passes. And in particular, does he make those passes when the game's on the line? And so I would rather have Tua right now. You're comparing the two, even though Justin Herbert might be able to throw a 40-yard out better than Tua. But how many times a game are you throwing the 40-yard outs? You don't throw them very often. So
yeah, people get wowed by the big play, but what Tua's doing right now within that's the thing. McDaniel has gotten into the psyche of Tua and figured out not only what Tua needs to be successful, but figured out how Tua can bring that out of himself. Remember in the first half of the Baltimore game, that was week 2, right? That we played Baltimore.
Tua threw Lamar Jackson ran all over us.
Yeah,
yes.
He threw 2 picks because he was absolutely pressing, trying to do things outside of the offense, trying to play hero ball and do too much. Right. And McDaniel, ever since then, got a hold of him.
And then he turned into a hero.
And then ever since then, he got a hold of Tua, and Tua has just been completely masterful at finding all of his plays within the offense. Because Tua is not an improvised quarterback. And I've said that from the very beginning. He's just not an improvised quarterback. But since that first half, do you know how many picks Tua has thrown?
I would guess maybe 1 or 2.
One.
Yeah.
He has thrown 1 interception since the first half of the second week of football.
And you're not counting
we are now week 10 going into week 11, right?
You're not counting the almost ones?
No. If I counted the almost ones for Josh Allen, he would have 25 already and be headed for a Jameis Winston. The dude has 12. And he
leads the league in interceptions.
We dropped 4 in the game against us alone. We dropped 4 picks against him. That's why there was such a disparity in that game, why they had the ball for 40 minutes and we had it for 20, because we kept playing the right defense and dropping the picks. It wouldn't have been the case. It wouldn't have even been a close game. But no, I'm not counting the almost ones. He's had 1 in the last 3 weeks. I don't even think there has been an almost one that
you want to hear something it's scary for defensive coordinators beyond what's already going on. And I need to verify this, but I saw this on Twitter today, and I'm taking it as actual, but I would need to look it up and confirm.
Because you saw it on Twitter?
Because I didn't look it up, the stat. I just saw that. I assumed it's accurate, but I read that Miami is one of the top teams leading the league in drops right now.
Oh, actually, I had not seen that. That's
all Chase Edmonds.
Think about that, though.
That's all Chase Edmonds.
Maybe. I mean, he's got like 5 of them.
He's got 5 of them. 5 of 12 passes that he that were thrown to him, he dropped.
if that's true and Tua is first in completion percentage right now, think about that. If they're leading the league in drops, he could be like in the 80s somewhere right now, realistically.
Could you imagine?
Well, if you're going to play the game of dropped interceptions, what about dropped catchable balls that have come out of Tua's hands? So he's playing at a next level. And right now, to me, the teams don't even know what to do because they're doing the nice balance now that they've added Jeff Wilson of, you rip off a 10-yard run and the speed that Hill and Waddle operate in and the speed that Tua reads the defense and the ball comes out. Like, it's 2 or 3 seconds almost all the time with him, isn't it? It's just like zoom, it's out. And like, I would hate to be a D-back against the Dolphins right now because if you press up against those guys, Tua will just rip it. And he's thrown several 4th down, 3rd down and ones where he just goes a 9 route. And even though he put too much air on it, that to me, you talk about like a gutsy throw. That play against the Bears where he threw a 9 route to Waddle, who was wide open on like that 3rd and 1 when we were trying to run the clock out. Wow. I mean, most quarterbacks won't throw that. And
he's not scared to throw any pass in any situation, which is important when you're going to be going to the Super Bowl.
No, and I like Mike McDaniel. He has a feel for the flow. In that game, a lot of people didn't pay maybe as close attention, but we were down 7-0. Cleveland had just shocked us, came right down and scored immediately on us, and we went and we had was it a 4th and 1 on our own 30 or own 35 somewhere in there. And we went for it and got the first down with Jeff Wilson. You guys remember that? That's guts right there. Because if we don't convert that, we're already down 7-0, and you're giving them the ball in scoring position. Most coaches won't do that, and McDaniel's just like, whatever. I'm. You got
a gutsy coach and a gutsy quarterback,
but
a good coach and a good quarterback.
Yeah, you're a faith, but you're also like feeling the flow of the game. Like we didn't want to be punting that ball back to Cleveland right away after they scored that quick 7 on us. And we didn't. We kept on moving that ball. And I like the fact that our coach isn't afraid, and I like the fact that Tua isn't afraid because it makes defenses have to stay honest. And it's getting pretty tough, the amount of 9 routes that Tua's completed down the field to these guys to not keep your safeties back. Like, how brave are you to bring up your safeties in the box right now on the Dolphins?
Okay, I gotta, because he's been in here trolling us this whole time. Listen, I appreciate you giving us the viewership. I really do.
By the way, but Matthew, the only reason these are popping on the screen is because Lewis is putting them on the screen.
Yeah, that's
just FYI. Reason. So we're not avoiding you.
So for the record, who was the quarterback for Miami when we lost 23 points to the Jets? Was it Teddy or was it Skyler?
Well, I'm pretty sure it out as Skyler. One and end up the other. I don't remember.
Yeah, because all the games that Tua was out started with one quarterback and ended with the other one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Was that the game? Was that the game, or no? Or was it the Vikings game? No, it was the Jets game that Teddy.
That was the very first play of the game.
Where the very first play of the game, they decided, let's get back on the Dolphins and take Teddy out. Yeah. Anyway, if I'm going to talk about the Jets here for a second, since we clearly have a Jets fan on here. You guys should really start Joe Flacco and just let Zach Wilson do what he does best and go smash.
Yeah,
for
real.
That's all I'm saying.
For real, you honestly should just like Joe Flacco because Zach Wilson ain't it, bro. He really isn't. Yeah. So
the Jets are a good team. Like you got.
Yeah, but you're not getting anywhere with quarterback play like they have. Yeah, I'm sorry. They could even get to the playoffs, and then they're going to get crushed. And as Dolphins fans, we've seen that on occasion where we play good defensively and we run the ball and we do all those little things.
But you can't win in the shootout, games,
and then we get into it in a playoff game and we get wrecked because the quarterback play just isn't at a par it needs to be when you get to the playoffs. So.
I think you'll learn more this week. You'll learn more about the Jets because they're playing the Patriots, I think, this week. And,
who they lost to 2 weeks ago.
They got to beat that. If the Jets lose this game to the Patriots, I think that's going to put them behind the 8 ball a bit to make the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure that would put them in last place. Yeah.
Well, it'll be 6-4, and so I'm completely confident on the Jets game in Miami at the end of the year, and that's going to
they come to Hard Rock, and the defense literally the defense is night and day depending on whether they're at home or on the road. Like statistically speaking, on the road the defense sucks. At home, it's amazing.
You know what's also going to be great in that last game is that Tua's going to be there throwing the ball.
That's the diff. Well,
that's
pretty much the big difference, isn't it? Like your starting quarterback is in the game. Your backup quarterback's not in there. Your freaking third string quarterback, Skylar Thompson. Of course we can't score points. What do you think?
To me right now, if I were the Jets right now, I think the hard thing they've got to figure out is Zach Wilson, because Garrett Wilson's a good player. Sauce Gardner's a good player. They've got a really good defensive front.
They'll get
I'll
Hall
give
back
Matthew
next
credit.
year.
They have a great quarterback room.
Well, they've got a young nucleus, but
they do.
For them to have success, Zach Wilson has to be the guy. And if
they have a good coach.
Well, yeah, but do you go all in on Zach Wilson if you're the Jet? They're in a lot of the talk right now that Miami was in a year ago early on with Tua. It's like, all right, Miami has a good team, but is Tua the guy? And Tua has now proven, without a doubt, he's the guy the way he's playing. But Zach Wilson has not done that. He's thrown picks. He's not been getting great quarterback play, and I think he's been carried a little bit
had his moment, but
by
it's
a
not
good young
consistent.
team. But when you go into the offseason, depending on how this season plays out for the Jets, do you say we need to go get a quarterback right now because we've got a competitive team? Or do you go another year and say we need to see if Zach Wilson's that guy or not? Because
that's dangerous when you have Josh Allen and that crew and Tua and that crew in that division.
Yeah, but you can't play. I mean, I know you're trolling, but saying play Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, you're not going to even probably make.
I'm really not. I'm really not.
No.
I'm
just saying it's dangerous to stick with Zach
trolling.
Wilson going into the next year.
Yeah, but Joe Flacco can't take you. He can't take.
No, he can't take you very long term. But I think he's better than Zach Wilson. That's an honest truth at this point.
The Jets will not be competitive though with Joe Flacco this year or next year. But will they be with Zach Wilson? That's what they have to figure out. And that hasn't shown up yet. And so this will be a good week because you're playing the Patriots.
Tough defense always against all quarterbacks for any quarterback. Tough defense.
Really good defense. It's really good at confusing quarterbacks. And so this is a big time game for Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson throws 2 or 3 picks in this game and you lose to the Patriots, the Jets have to really, from the management standpoint, be deciding is, do we want to go another year with him or not? Or do we just want to be like the Cardinals and say, maybe this is a Josh Rosen. We need to just draft a new quarterback. There's good quarterbacks in this draft. The Jets have a good young team. Do you want to squander that on Zach Wilson or not?
But didn't the new quarterback come with a new coach? I don't think Robert Saleh is going to move on from Zach Wilson that quickly.
Well, that's the question, though. Do you or don't you? And so that's going to be what happens with the Jets. It's their fortunes are going to lie in Zach Wilson's hands. And I don't know. He's been pretty up and down thus far. Yeah, I'm glad.
Ooh, man, I'm so glad they didn't draft Justin Fields. Man, I don't want to see that guy anymore. My Lord.
If
any quarterback I ever don't want to see again, it's that guy. Like
we're talking about Justin Fields like he's better than Lamar Jackson. Are we going there?
I think he's a better athlete.
I think he's a better athlete, and I think when it comes to running his instincts, running the ball,
to say anybody is a better athlete than Lamar Jackson,
getting out of the pocket when the lane opens up and knowing when to take off with it. I don't think Justin Fields is
a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson right now. But he's if you're trying to say which one's harder to defend running the ball, I would say Justin Fields.
I think it's Justin Fields.
He's I think he's 4.4. I mean, that guy's about as fast as most D-backs. You got to understand that. And
I've been having to convince my Chicago Bears friends who are fans of the team. I keep trying to tell them, you guys are complaining about the Bears in this offense. I was like, you guys need to, you should be relishing in this because you guys are getting ready here to have something special.
He's got some steps to make yet. Justin Fields, to me, hasn't played a lot of good quarterbacking. He's just been sensational running the ball. And I think that tends to get non-sustainable because they tend to, you get hurt, just like a running back. How many hits can Justin Fields take before he gets dinged up and that affects his ability to throw, or he loses, he has a hurt groin or a twisted ankle or something. He doesn't have that speed. Can he still play the quarterback position? But when he's healthy, I think Jalen Phillips got humbled a little bit because he struggled getting that edge set on Justin Fields. And I think Phillips is such a good athlete and so quick. He was used to going to where he did on the edge and being able to contain the quarterback, and Fields just would go right around him over and over and over.
And by the way, Channing Tindall is the spy. Blah. No,
yeah. Thanks. Well, none of the, in that game, to be fair, none of the spies really did a great job. Sometimes they take the wrong angle. Sometimes they just wouldn't tackle. It added insult to injury to an already tough situation.
I personally, and part of this is not having Brandon Jones, but to me, they should have had Javon Holland spying Justin Fields.
Yeah, thank you. See, Brandon Jones, somebody else finally. Brandon Jones missing. People are acting like they're so dismissive of that injury.
But
that is a key injury for us, and it
was
really hurts us in the blitzing game. He was the best blitzing DB we had.
When I said that Brandon Jones was Rashad Jones, you scoffed.
No, but they're two different players. They are.
No, he's not. Rashad Jones did some of his best work in the box.
Yeah, in the box, but what I'm talking about, and especially in the blitzing package and stuff, like Brandon Jones was so good with the blitz. He was the best blitzing DB we had, and now we're missing that. And you really can't be using Holland a lot like that, but we're backing away from that now anyway. We're going more with 4 and 5 man rush. We're not doing the heavy blitz package as much anymore. I don't think.
2 positions right now in our defense we don't have complete players, and that's the strong safety when we lost Brandon Jones, and we don't have a complete middle linebacker. And so you're seeing Landon Roberts, as the rundown, and it's nice to have him when you play a team like Cleveland and it doesn't have a passing attack, and especially when Cleveland's missing their tight end. He was thumping Chubb in there, but Landon Roberts cannot do pass coverage to save his life. I mean, maybe he can cover a slow tight end, but
in the right coverage, and I'm not terribly good with my cover 2, 3, 4. He certainly can be a guy that just kind of comes back a few yards and simply clogs up the middle, which they're asking these guys to do a lot. They're not, as they're playing a little bit more zone and a little bit more cover 2 and, Tampa 2 and things like that. That linebacker is going to be just sitting back, just kind of clogging up the middle, watching to see, are they going to run it? No, they're going to throw it. And he's much better at that than trying to, when you go,
yeah, but he's just, my point is he's not,
or something.
He's not a complete middle linebacker. He's a 2-down run defender. That's what Landon Roberts is. And I wouldn't sleep on Channing Tyndale yet. He's young, and I think they're still trying to get him.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I'm just saying that he's not ready. He's not ready. He wasn't ready when he came out of college.
He is, but physically he has the ability to be a complete middle linebacker where he can be in on 3 downs if you need him to be. Right now, when we get into more different schemes, we got to pull Landon Roberts and put in Duke Riley. That's what Miami does. And so basically it's situational substitution where Landon Roberts plays in certain situations and they sub him out for Duke Riley in certain situations. And that's
Duke
the same
Riley,
thing.
Another unsung hero that you're going to hear about in the Super Bowl.
Well, he's a much more athletic linebacker than Landon Roberts, but he's not the run defender that Landon Roberts is. So you got to play them both to get a complete player. And they're doing it at safety too. You're seeing Eric Rowe play certain downs, and you're seeing Vernon McKinley III play certain downs, and even Elijah Campbell play certain downs. And, when Brandon Jones was there, if you look at snap count, he'd be playing like 98, 99% of snaps. And so that was because he was a complete safety for what they used him for. And they simply don't have that player anymore. So they're using guys that are better at certain things in certain situations on the subs. But that's not too huge of a thing, but that's life right now for the rest of this year. We don't have the strong safety, and we don't have a complete middle linebacker. So we have to sub specialists in those positions.
All right, so let's get back to some actual tweets here, because again, this is what we always do. We always go like it's been an hour, and we
spent 20 minutes on the Jets thanks to Matthew Smith. That feels like a super made up.
He wanted some Jets time, so
that's fine. We'll be at the Pulse of Jets Nation. We're here for you. I'm sure we're better than any Jets show that's on.
I'm rooting for the Jets to beat the Patriots. I would love to
answer Carson's question. If you were on OnlyFins, by the way.
Yeah, you have more information on that. How about we just say that? If you had more information, if you want more information on what's going on with Byron Jones, I suggest you go find the 3 yards per carry Twitter account, sign up for OnlyFins, and that's all I'm gonna say.
It's $3 a month. Chad, you should join OnlyFins.
Yeah, you should join, man. You would enjoy the conversation in there a lot more than you do on Twitter. I promise you, Chad.
Yeah, although I've heard a little, but not anything I'm going to say. So
you're not. You're one that can separate, can back off of all the Twitter stuff, and just
Right. You want to be a mod?
Be a good father and be a good husband. Me, I'm a terrible father and a terrible husband because all I do is sit on my phone all day talking about the Dolphins.
I try not to get pulled into the Twitter arguments. It's sometimes it takes restraint, but
get into the Discord arguments instead. All right. Yeah. So, whoops. Hello. I always leave one open. Okay. So for this next one, it's from Michael McDan. There you go. There's a name for you. This bye week is making me nervous. I don't think a break will be good for us in sense of rhythm. Okay. So that's an interesting topic though. Like this was something that I had asked Troy during the post-game show on Sunday, was just how important
You're always
is
name
it?
dropping. I was with Troy.
I mean, he was on the show, wasn't he?
I know. I just mess with you.
I'm being factual. Troy Stratford was on the post-game show with us.
I was on the show with Troy Stratford. No, I'm just kidding, dude.
You were.
I was on it too.
You were there too, Ron.
I know I was. Yeah.
So, but that wasn't. But it was a topic I wanted to know because now that the Dolphins are riding a 4-game win streak going into the bye week, and they are in a rhythm. Does the bye week throw them off their game a little? That's something that I'm wondering about.
I don't think
too
so.
Worried. I think that becomes more pertinent if you have injured guys coming back in. And like, let's say we had a receiver, a running back that had been out for a month or something.
Matthew, thanks for being a good sport. Thanks for the subscription. Much appreciated.
But Miami they're not really having any of their skill guys out. So I don't think they're going to lose like a bunch of timing or anything like that. But I do think, there's obviously Byron Jones is the big one because I think everybody's waiting to see if he returns after the bye week. And it would be a game changer on our defense.
I will go ahead and I will say this about Byron Jones, Chad, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but you know how we
That's
do.
all you ever do.
This is all we do. That's all we ever do. Chad's used to it. It's like, just like old times. Lewis cutting me off in the middle of my sentence. I'll say this about Byron Jones, and I feel like that we need to discuss this. Byron Jones, I've already said it, and I was gonna make a 5 reasons, a 5 take, whatever. I don't remember what they're called, but basically a quickie video. But I'm just gonna do it here. I keep hearing about how this is Byron Jones' last year in Miami, and that we're just wasting money keeping him here. And I said it on the post-game show too, and I'll say it here. I really feel like that Byron Jones is gonna stick around at least one more season because of several reasons. Number one, as much as we love Kader Kohu, he's still not a Pro Bowl corner. He's playing great football. I'd love to be able to say, okay, maybe we can move on from Nick Needham now, because maybe we can get rid of because I think Kohu would do fantastic in the slot. Maybe we can get a team to give us a 6th or 7th round pick for Nick Needham. That'd be fantastic. Get more draft capital for Chris Greer to do something wacky. The other thing, number 2, is that he's expensive, but you know what? He is that good. And some people were saying, well, how long would it take for Byron Jones to get back into it? It's not like Byron Jones has been sitting on his couch the whole time. He's been in the building. He's been in on the meetings. He's doing all the things, the mental reps and all that jazz. He knows the defense still. It's not like he's confused about what's happening. So I can't imagine that once he gets back out there, he's not going to know what's going on. So that's number 2. Number 3, I said this before. What would be in Byron Jones's best interest right now? And I can't help but feel like I'm going back to the Albert Wilson discussion. Albert Wilson could have demanded a trade. He could have said, let me go, get me out of here. I don't want to stay. Albert Wilson knew that on the open market, the way that things had gone right then, he wasn't going to get that much. In fact, he probably would have gotten less than what he got with Miami after his pay cut. As it stands right now, Byron Jones would count for, what was it that Eric had said on the pregame show last week? Was it like $18 million against the cap with a $15 million base? No, it was an $18 million base, $15 million against the cap, I think because of guaranteed dollars or something like that. So let's say that you cut Byron Jones's salary by $6 million. Make it so that it's a $12 million cap hit instead. Still a Pro Bowl cornerback there. And that's something that we've already witnessed what this defense looks like when you don't have the 2 Pro Bowl corners. It's not pretty. It's getting better. Thank you, Bradley Chubb, for making that happen. But Byron Jones, and Chalk Van Straub coming, that Byron comes in and plays better than Xavier Howard, what would you do? I'm still keeping them both. I'm still keeping them both.
Even though X is having a bit of a down year, that's just not going to
Well, why is he having a down year, though?
Howard is not having a down year, guys, at all.
Look at this. I like that take even better.
And
he's
that's
being
kind of
asked to cover a number.
That's kind of my point, though, Chad. But that's kind of my point.
Every game.
That's kind of my point. The down year is because now the only time you see the ball thrown his way is when it's obvious he got beat.
How well did Amari Cooper do? Top receiver right now, one of the top receivers in the game against the
Dolphins.
That great. You know
no,
why?
It's those guys have faced each other. It was 3 times now, and it's 2-1.
How did Stephon Diggs?
Cooper.
How did Justin Jefferson do? These top receivers against the Dolphins.
Oh, he didn't do crap.
I didn't get to watch that game.
You guys want to know why?
He didn't do crap. X held him in check, and he's apparently the best receiver.
X isn't only holding these guys in check.
NFL.
If you look back at what they're doing on defense, he's playing them man to man without safety help often because they're helping the other side of the field with the safeties.
And that's the other thing. Now you put Byron Jones back there. You put him back where he was before, and you put him with Xavier Howard. Hello, how do you think he got all those interceptions? Because quarterbacks had to pick their poison. Do you want Byron Jones to knock it down for a guaranteed incomplete pass, or do you want to take the risk that Xavier Howard's going to pick it off?
You're not going to see it because we're not playing that type of defense right now. Like you get interceptions when you blitz a lot. You get a lot more interceptions, and you also give up more touchdowns sometimes too when you get burned. But we're not doing a lot of that zero, blitzing, and you get a lot of picks because when you get a free rusher in, quarterbacks will throw it up. They'll make a bad decision quick, and then you get a ball that can get picked off. You can't measure corners on the number of picks they're getting, whether they're having a good year or a bad year. But also, just to respond to a few points, Lewis, Nick Needham's not going to have any trade value, unfortunately, because he's coming off an Achilles injury, and nobody's going to touch him until he's healthy.
Chad,
yeah.
Chris Greer was able to trade Kalen Ballage. I think anybody has trade value at this point.
I don't believe Nick Needham has any trade value. That's all I'm saying. Just because he needs to prove he hasn't lost anything after he recovers. Achilles, it's not like an ACL.
Yeah, Achilles is different. That's what Byron Jones is trying to come back from.
It is. And so, but in your point though is right, Lewis. Byron Jones's open market is not the same anymore. Like if he gets cut, he's not getting a massive deal because he's in his 30s. He's coming off a major injury. What Byron Jones is going to get is like somewhere between $10 to $12 million 1-year deal with no guaranteed money from a team on the open market. He's not going to get anything else.
And I think for some reason he's thinking that's not the case. And that's why he's trying to put no bad tape, because he feels like if he comes back and he puts any bad tape out there, that's it. What Chad just said is a guarantee. I think right now in his mind, he's thinking maybe he has a shot at another multi-year deal if he doesn't put bad tape on there.
I still think he's coming back.
He's choosing the selfish route right now and choosing not to come back.
I think he's coming back. I really do.
We'll see. I don't know. He doesn't. I mean, if what's going on with this team right now doesn't inspire you to come back, I don't know.
Let me put it this way. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The way this team is playing right now, you can't tell me he doesn't want to be a part of it. You can't tell me that.
Then come be a part of it. They're waiting on him.
I think he will. I think he will. I really think he'll be back. He will be back.
If he's not back by the Niners, by the West Coast trip, he's not.
100% agree. I kind of was putting it as a Texas game. If he's not back to practicing when we come off the bye week, I don't think he's coming back. But I also don't know. All I've just heard is, I don't want to give away anything I've heard, but I don't know where he's at really physically. And so, but I know he's close. And so he's capable of coming back, in my opinion, this year if he wants to. But I also know he's got like his salary guaranteed to injury, and I don't know what that affects for his contract next year. And I have heard rumors that he's trying to hold him hostage a little bit for more guaranteed on his current contract and stuff like that. And I think what the Dolphins are doing is saying, I think we're okay without you to do that. But I think they might give that to him if Xavier Howard got hurt. You might suddenly change your tune on wanting to work with Byron Jones on some contract stuff, because we'd be a different team without Xavier Howard, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, ugh. We saw what that looked like when in the Cincinnati game.
Kader Kohu, Keon Crossan.
Yeah, in the Cincinnati game when X couldn't go.
My favorite, Noah Igbenogany. He's still
Hey, he's played better. He's been more of a contributor this year than he's ever been in his Dolphins.
Yeah, there's something.
Good for him.
I've hoped that we would see more, but to me, Crossing has not played well at all. And so from what I've seen, he's had he's missed tackles. He's had some interference calls on him, and I was just like, well, Noah Igbenogany can get interference calls. He's good at that. But I don't know.
Thank God he took off those orange sleeves. Oh my God, it was like a big red bullseye on his back.
But yeah, I mean, if he spent this year with Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, who clearly are doing a good job, if you can get the play they've got out of Kader Kohu and Bethel, like guy off the street, there's clearly some good coaching going on. So there's some disconnect with Noah Igbenogany, whether he can't just pick up the techniques or the coaching and that kind of stuff.
Those two, by the way, that you just mentioned, I was just about to say it. Cater Kohu and Justin Bethel are saving this defense.
Well,
they are
getting the job
saving this secondary right now.
A career special teamer who was like, "Hey, I remember how to do this."
Who had played 59 snaps in 4 years combined, then went into that one game and played 60.
Well, again, you got to give some credit to Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain. I mean, those are the coaches right now, and when you can get guys like that playing at a high level, there's coaching involved there. And Cater Kohu, what a steal! I mean, that's a first round. He's playing like a first round corner right now.
Yeah, he's playing like a top 10 rookie, not just a top 10 defensive rookie or DB. He's a top 10 rookie in the NFL this year.
Yeah, and to me though, you can't say we don't need Byron Jones because we have. I think he's a slot corner all the way. I don't know that you could pop Cater Kohu out on the boundary corner and he'll have the same level of success out there as he's having in some of those slot formations. So ideally to me, if he's back to healthy, if we had Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and Cater Kohu as our top three, that's a great back end to throw with Siobhan Holland. But I guess we'll see. I have to think there's something in there because they had opportunities to get. Yeah, I know. But we had opportunities to get guys like Willie Jackson 3, right? And we've had the opportunity to put Byron Jones on the season-ending IR, and we haven't, right? So he's costing some stuff.
Oh no, because they're hopeful. That's why I'm telling you, it's not. If it was his injury, I think he'd already be on season-ending IR. They are waiting on him to decide to come back. Period. And if he's not back by the Niners game, I think they're done.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion, if he's not going to come back for the Niners game, they're done. And I'm not even necessarily saying he comes back for the Niners game and they throw him out there for 60 snaps. I'm saying he comes back in the Niners game and he starts to work his way back into the defense over the next 3 games on that road trip.
What I think will happen if Byron Jones doesn't come back and he can pass a physical, I think they'll trade him for a low round pick in the offseason because his contract's favorable to another team because there's not much guarantee left in it. So if you're a team that didn't get the corner you needed in the draft or you have a corner get hurt in training camp, you might throw like a 6th round pick to Miami for Byron Jones to get a contract where he's a 1-year rental. That's what he becomes if he doesn't come back for a different team. I don't think they'll keep him here if he doesn't return. He'll get traded off.
I still think he's going to be back. He may take a pay cut, but he'll be back.
He's really not coming back. If he doesn't play this season, he's not returning here next season. I'd be really surprised. That would be my opinion.
We'll see who ends up being right. All right, next one. So from Henry Oz, I wish we were playing next Sunday. Momentum and confidence is higher than any time I can remember this millennium. He's been around a long time.
Fair enough. Besides 2001, probably.
Hopeful that Jones returns after the bye and that Armstead continues to heal. He played lights out yesterday. That's, of course, referring to Sunday. Terron Armstead. Can we talk about Terron Armstead? Like, we were worried about his calf, his toe.
Yeah, the toe's been the biggest issue.
What issue? I haven't seen an issue. He's been playing like a superstar.
It isn't affecting his
tackle.
play, but I mean, the guy is just he's manning up and playing through the pain. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's playing through the pain. He really needs this rest. And I never want to take a team for granted. I never, not even a 1-7-1 or whatever they are team in Houston. But I wouldn't cry if they decided to give not only this bye week, but give TA off the Houston game too, and just manage through with Shell and Jackson for that game. I understand it's a little risky. You don't want to get caught off guard, but
you are playing with fire. That's going to be the one game that Austin Jackson gets wrecked and Tua hits the ground so hard that his helmet shatters.
I mean, there's really nobody on Houston that,
but it's still Austin Jackson.
Yeah, I get it. It gives Jackson some more play and some, get him back into the swing of things. Because we don't even know if he's going to replace Shell or they're going to keep Shell at right tackle. I'm really not sure what they're going to do once Austin Jackson gets back in the swing of things. I wouldn't hate it. I understand it's a little risky. I don't want to take any team for granted, even Houston.
Hey, Ron.
But that almost 3 week, right? That 20 days of rest for his for his toe.
That's where he is.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But that, again, that 20-day rest for his toe could mean so much more, especially going into the tougher part of the schedule. I think it would be worth it to take the risk.
No.
It depends on I mean, it's a moot point unless you know how the situation with his toe and injury, but he needs the bye week. That's, some of the key factors in this bye week is Terron Armstead getting the rest. And I would argue you don't get the fanfare because he's the lineman. He was every bit as big of acquisition as Tyreek Hill was to this team. And Tyreek Hill obviously is making all the catches and all the highlights and the flips in the end zone and all that stuff. But I think it's worth at least a couple wins, maybe more, if Terron Armstead's been that good. I mean,
absolutely. He's been phenomenal.
As Dolphin fans, you've seen some hot garbage out there. I mean, at the tackles we've had in the years.
I tell you what, my unsung hero, my number one unsung hero on this team, my number one underrated signing, right? We always do the overrated, underrated. We're not doing that this week because we don't have a game this coming Sunday, right, Lewis? My number one guy signing as far as just underrated, I'm not talking about the obvious ones like Hill and things like that, it's Trent Sherfield. That guy is doing more things on that offense and is more important on that offense than you can absolutely imagine. It's just been it is so awesome. Just try and when you're watching the Dolphins play and you see number 14 on, just try and keep your eye on that guy. It's hard not to watch the ball. It's hard not to be a ball watcher. It's real hard for me. But try and keep your eye on that guy. Watch him play this game inside this offense.
And make wide open lanes.
Watch what he does. Watch how he runs routes. Just watch everything he does on that team. And he's, I'm telling you, he's doing some special things, and he's a name that no one's gonna know like nationally until all of a sudden when we're in the Super Bowl and you're seeing that guy's name. And there's a list of people that I could name that, like, when you go to watch the Super Bowl, and if you're not somebody that watches a ton of college or a ton of other teams, you go to watch the Super Bowl, whoever the team is, and you see these guys that you've never heard of make plays. Man, I can name you those guys on this team. On this team. Sherfield is one of those guys. Sealer is one of those guys, man. I'm telling you, there are some names on this team that you're going to be like, God, I don't even know who that guy is, but holy crap. Did you see that play? Did you see that tackle? Oh my God, look at that play again. And man, there's some names on this team. There's some guys on that second tier on this team doing some really awesome stuff.
Take Cedric Wilson's contract and give it to Trent Sherfield. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, he deserves it. In my mind, I understand that he's not catching 10 passes a game and a touchdown every game. He's not that guy, but his contribution is just as important to this team. Yep. Yeah, he's just as important to this team, especially as we get into the December month.
Position right now. He's a gritty blocker. If you watch him, not catching football is what he's doing. He's part of that.
Sherfield is like single-handedly opening up these running lanes for our running backs. Like all these
I don't know about single-handedly, but he's
all these almost
the
runs.
Best blocker.
That's Sherfield.
Yeah, it's hard to take him out for that reason because it's harder to defend the run when he's in there, and he's noticeably a lot more of a physical receiver than Cedric Wilson.
Thank you for the subscription, Aladino.
I think they're trying. I mean, they have a little bit in recent weeks. They're trying to get Cedric Wilson involved. They're letting him do punt return and getting him a few passes here and there. But he has legitimately been beat out by Trent Sherfield, and it's
no question.
It's clear.
And I have no problem with it.
Has beat out Cedric Wilson at this point. Once Sanders was elevated, he was getting River Craycraft has elevated.
I'll bet you Ron's flipping out then when everybody's like, we need to go get OBJ. And
oh my God. All right, now, man, I was hoping we were gonna make this whole show without bringing that dude up. I have no look. He's gonna go to a team and probably contribute to somebody somewhere. Like, he belongs in the NFL still, in my opinion.
Aaron
and
Rodgers
he can go into a
Green
team.
Bay,
he could help the Giants.
Signs saying OBJ.
He could help the Giants. He could help the Packers. He could help the Cowboys. He can help some teams in there. He is not. That is not a fit for us. It's nothing to do with his personality or anything.
I would say he's
just not a fit.
OBJ is going to end up going probably to the Cowboys, the Bills, or maybe the Packers or Giants. But I'm predicting the Cowboys is where he's going.
Somebody just said he had a nice crack block on Garrett. He like sealed the whole line on that play, man. Like, that dude was blocking like an offensive lineman, or more like a tight. He blocks like a good blocking tight end. That would be the best way I could describe it.
Should block.
You guys are giving some huge credit.
Gesicki is getting better.
I'll give him credit. He's getting better.
He's getting some nice blocks in, man.
Alfredo went
he's
through the
working
film.
on it.
I'll give Mike
Gesicki
a little. It's a lot different blocking the linebacker or DM than it is a corner or safety. That's what Sherfield's blocking, but Sherfield's getting it done on, and especially in this offense because Mike McDaniel loves that zone stretch run or that pitch toss run to the outside, and that's where those receivers got to get their blocks in. And when they get them, you get those edges. Those are big gainers. And I think didn't Sherfield have a big block on that run by Mostert? I'll have to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure he did. He was part of that big.
Just about run. Every single one of those wide zone runs that you mentioned. I don't think that's what you called it, but just about every single one of those. It's not even about what side of the offensive line. Oh, are they going to go behind Shell? Are they going to go behind? You want to know where that's going?
Okay,
just watch where Sherfield is. Because that's where that run's
Michael.
Going. Because they know to really break it from 3 or 4 yards to 10 or 15 yards.
Right.
It's going to be his block and maybe another wide receiver's block, depending on the formation. That's going to be most important to turn a decent run into a longer run, which is what they're almost always hoping to do. Right. Especially if you're running on first down or something like that. That's what we're always hoping to do. One of the critical things, and I think what's really going to take this offense from good to great is you've seen
it's not
Miami,
great yet.
Well, we're great. Into my mind, we're great now. What's taken this offense from good to great is not just Jeff Wilson being able to get it done, but the fact that you're seeing Miami.
Is it that guy?
They've always, he's beasting too. But you always see in Miami wanting to try and run on first down. And I was complaining so much. I'm like, God, why are we running so much on first down? Why are we running so much on first down? But now that they have Jeff Wilson and the blocking is right, Gesicki's getting a little better. Obviously, Sherfield's been good, and they're just keeping him on the field anymore. And even Hill and Waddle are getting in on the blocks, and they're blocking better. You're seeing these first down runs being more effective. You're getting more yards, even if they're not breaking them for 10 or 15. You're seeing them take 1, 2 or stuffed at the line, if you will. And you're seeing them turning into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yard runs on first down. Pay real close attention to that in this game against Houston. You watch them on first down, how much I'd love to see some numbers on what their first down run percentage looks like and the success rate of that and how that's going, because you can see that that's getting better. And I think that's something that they want to do is run it on first down and try and because man, this offense is so deadly, even on 3rd and long, but when you get them in 2nd and short, that's where that 2nd and short is where Miami is just going to destroy people, because like Chad said, they're not scared to take a shot on 3rd or 4th down long. Imagine what they're not scared to do from the 45, their own 45-yard line on 2nd and 4. I mean, that's where they're going to absolutely shred every team in the NFL.
This offense, I think, is the best in the NFL right now.
It is.
And
it absolutely
obviously
is.
I'm a homer, but they play a lot of the game is, do you want to play your linebackers up to defend the run, or do you want to keep them back? Because if you bring them up, they're going to just murder you in the middle with Hill and Waddle. They're going to throw over the middle underneath the safeties. And if you bring your safeties up, then you're giving up the 9 routes on the outside.
And if you somehow miraculously manage to cover Hill and Waddle, there's still Mike Gesicki to contend with. He's still going to catch.
Well, honestly, that was Cleveland's,
or the running back.
That was Cleveland's game plan. They focused heavily on Waddle and Hill and say, we're going to try to take Waddle and Hill away. And what did Miami do? They ran all over them, and they threw to 8 or 9 different receivers in the game. Miami was fine with if you want to double down on those guys and leave people open, we'll happily rip off 10-yard runs if you're
because that's what elite quarterbacks do. They find everybody.
I think it was 9 or 10 passes to the backs too between Mostert and Wilson.
Yeah, man, that's
the new wrinkle we couldn't do before when we had Edmonds. It just wasn't working.
Fanboy at Tua's fake on that touchdown to on the fullback there. Where he
Ingold.
That was wow.
That was beautiful.
So that was pretty. So.
For what
I agree though. I mean, you know me, Lewis. I have been desperately begging for a fullback for a decade.
You have a fullback and a 380-pound defensive tackle, which we still don't have. Sorry.
Raekwon Davis is that guy right now. He's a beast of a man. But yeah, I like having a nose tackle in certain situations. But the fullbacks on those short yardage just change so much. It's so hard to stop it. And the only thing I'm still begging for, we haven't been doing, is I want on a half a yard to go, Christian Wilkins in at fullback, but maybe they're worried about him getting hurt.
We have Ingold for that. We don't even need that
Oh,
anymore.
I love Ingold, but stopping Christian Wilkins blown in there on a half a yard, good luck. I mean,
he's saving all that stuff for the Super Bowl.
For the Super Bowl, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We still have.
Give him his William Perry. Christian Wilkins to William Perry.
Think about this real carefully. What have we still not really seen from this offense?
Oh, Tyreek Hill in the backfield.
Exactly.
He does it from time to time.
I'm telling you, man. I said this before the season started, and I'm sure you remember, Lewis, when we were doing a couple episodes in the preseason. McDaniel has been dreaming about being a head coach in the NFL since the guy could dream, right? And since he got in the NFL, he's been absorbing and watching everything, Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, and everything around him. I promise you, this guy has been mentally creating and thinking about what he would do as a head coach, what he would do if he had full control of an offense for so many years. He has not even begun to scratch the surface of the type of stuff he will eventually bring out, some this year, some next year, and over the years to come. You're never going to stop seeing innovation and different things coming from Mike McDaniel, especially with the talent he has on this offense. So I promise you, all this stuff you think, hey, you know what we haven't seen? Eventually one day, maybe it won't even be this year, you're going to see it. You're going to see it.
Well, offenses tend to evolve on all teams. And so this one's
on
really
good teams.
Right, but where the playbook's starting to, the number of plays they execute at a high level are there's a lot of them, and there's so many little nuances to detail. I think that, like I was talking earlier about, Mike McDaniel is really good at creating leverages in his schemes to give his receivers a little more space to get open, or give his fullbacks and tight ends a little bit better angle to block down for his running backs, and it's just hitting. Like I've heard multiple people say this, not just like Tua and the other, but I think the offense is just starting to hit potential, and where it could go from here is pretty wild. But we've watched 3 games where nobody came close to stopping this offense, to be honest. They just roll over the last 3 teams they've played. And it's fun to watch. I'm glad, for younger guys like you, Lewis, you're seeing it, because this is what it was like back when we had Marino with Duper and Clayton, and it was nothing to score 30 points. That was the norm.
That was the expected.
Yeah, and
when was the last time you can remember the Dolphins offense and you just expect them to score 30 points? And if they don't score 30 points, you're disappointed.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to see the playoff success right now. I do believe this is a team built to compete into the playoffs. So, but this is where, when we started the show off, where something like Jason Sanders becomes important, because we're not going to blow Buffalo out. We're not going to blow New England out. We're not going to blow the 49ers out. And those are 3-point games, 7-point games. And that's where somebody like a kicker is who decides your game.
Yes, this is a Chad move from the Pulse of the Fins, Nate. Chad, being a Chad is now an adjective or noun.
As long as you're not a hanging Chad.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with Chad. I've dealt. Name of a country in Africa, and my kids, it's a gamer slang term. Like, you're a total Chad. So I
didn't even know that.
Yeah, it is. So.
But yeah, that's what I was pointing out just now with
that's what he's using it as.
That's what I was pointing out just now with the tweet, because you had brought it up. Is that it's a long season. We all want to see this turn into playoff success. That said, I'm having the most fun I've ever had as a Dolphins fan. I'm having the most fun I've ever had as a Dolphins fan.
Me too. And the reason I'm having
even more than the Marino years,
I am, because in the Marino years, I was really young. I was a Dolphins fan. I first became a Dolphins fan in 1983. So when Marino first came in. Marino first got started. So I didn't know when you're 8-9 years old and you're watching this guy do what he's doing, and you're not really fully aware of what you're watching, number one, at 8-9 years old. Right. And secondly, I didn't have any years of heartache leading up to that. I just walked into greatness, right? If there's an 8-9-year-old Dolphins fan right now watching this, in 20-25 years, they're going to think about what it was like when they were 8, 9 years old and watching Tua sling it all over the field to Tyreek and Waddle. Like, that's what they're going to think about. And then, we watched all the Marino years, and they were awesome, but they were eventually just a little unfulfilling because we never got to that one Super Bowl, and then we never got back, and we never won. And then we got into the grind, man. We had that amazing offense with Ricky Williams in 2001. So it kind of kept going to where I hadn't really felt a true Dolphins drop-off. And then we started to see what a true Dolphins drop-off.
Welcome to what Nick Saban did to the team.
Welcome
to
being a fan of every other team.
Yeah.
Hey, New England, welcome to being a fan of most teams, at least at some point. Not every team. Some teams have kept it going for the most part, right? But so this feels better than even the Marino years because it's just been so much tougher leading up to it compared to, back then. Now, if you're a 70-year-old Dolphins fan, maybe not, because you got to live the 70s and what that team was like. And then you pretty much stayed good or at least relevant. And you always had Shula. So then this was the second coming, and you were an adult and you could enjoy the Marino years, right? And you could be aware that, wow, this is some greatness we're watching. But for somebody that's my age, I'm enjoying this more than I've ever enjoyed it. Plus I'm just more aware and in tune with social media, with this, right? With YouTube, with everything of what's going on in Dolphins land. I used to, when I was a kid, watch the preseason games, watch the Dolphins games, watch the playoff games, and didn't really think about it in between. What'd you say?
What playoff games?
Well, in
what's
the
a
Marino
playoff
years,
game? I don't know what a playoff game is.
In the Marino years, we almost always had playoff games. I think he only had one losing season. So, it feels better because I feel like as a fan, I had to go through a lot more to get here than I did, the Marino years. I don't know if you feel that way, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was the same age as you, so I do remember watching them lose to the Redskins as a kid, and how fun it was watching them in '84. There were a lot of people that liked watching the Dolphins that weren't fans of the Dolphins just because of how fast they would score points and the way they were playing offense. And I think you're starting to see that again, that there are people that are like to watch. Hey, Lewis Senior, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. Song.
I do think there are people that are starting to like to watch the Dolphins that aren't Dolphins fans. And so the good news is I'm expecting a lot of primetime games coming because who doesn't want to see this? So I'm like, I want to win the Super Bowl.
That Bills game is going to get flexed. Watch.
Yeah.
The Bills game, but like,
and maybe the Jets
want to
game.
watch the Dolphins against the Bills or the Dolphins against the Chiefs right now? Because wow, like the Dolphins Chiefs, that could be like 45-40, literally.
Yeah.
That game.
I remember in 1985, and I don't know why I remember it. I can remember where I was. 1985. I was born in 75, so I was 9-10 years old. So I was almost 10. I remember my dad had the TV guide. My dad was a police officer. My dad had the TV guide. I was sitting at the police station hanging out. And I remember him opening up Sunday's game, and it was the Dolphins against Chicago. I think it might have been Miami at Chicago. I think it was Miami at Chicago. I remember seeing it blocked out there real long on the TV guide, all those hours, man. That was the big game coming up, man. It was so exciting. Like, the Dolphins were the show. They were the show to watch back in the day.
Yeah. I'm from Iowa. I was all Bears fans. So it was
we've had our week. Moments, and we've had the Wildcat, and we've had Ricky Williams. But I don't think it's been since then that the Dolphins were like the show to watch. And you're right, Chad. Like, who wouldn't want to see a Chiefs Dolphins game right now? I mean, how freaking exciting and amazing would that be? And some of it just want to see because they want to see a lot of offense and want to see great football. Some of it are Dolphins fans. Some of it are Chiefs fans. Some of them want to see the Dolphins lose. Some of them want to see the Chiefs lose. But everybody, for one reason or another, is going to be sitting down wanting to watch that game. And when was the last time the Dolphins were one of the teams to watch? So you're right. Prime time all over the place. Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night, you're going to see it. Flex games, you're going to see it next year in the schedule for sure.
Yeah. And I do to me, the number one thing you need when you get into this time of year is, can you run the football a little bit this time of year? You have to be able to. And this is a different team. They can. And despite the stats, it's very misleading because Lamar Jackson ran all over us and Justin Fields ran all over us in those games. But
we still suck against running quarterbacks.
But that's misleading in that this team hasn't had a terrible run defense. And you saw
they have a good run defense.
They have a really good run defense.
Yes, they do. Just not against running quarterbacks.
Which again, when you get into those 20 and 30 degree or lower games, that's where you've got to have ability to stop it and run the football a little bit and use play actions to your tight ends and fullbacks and stuff. And so this is a team that's built different. And despite McDaniel being a young coach, he has a lot of experience. Like, he's been around a lot of smart head coaches and been absorbing for a long while. And so there's a huge difference between like a Mike McDaniel right now and a Jeff Saturday, who's never even coached college football. You're getting a coach, I think, that's very experienced, and he's got a very experienced staff around
Jeff
him.
Saturday won.
Saturday won because Josh McDaniels is just
the worst,
man.
He's the worst.
I don't know how he's staying there right now, but
it's only his first season. They're not going to boot him yet.
Yeah,
but my Lord,
talk about a rough. I mean, I've been there. We've been there as Dolphins fans. But
here's the disappointing part. I'd honestly kind of rather have Josh McDaniel as a head coach in Vegas than I would having him back being an offensive coordinator in New England, because it's where he thrives. Yes, because it's where he thrives. Because Mac Jones, even as a rookie, thrived with him as his offensive coordinator, and it would be an improvement for that team. And I don't want it, so I'm kind of hoping in my own way that I don't. I think we're better than Vegas. So even if they somehow manage to win all the rest of their games and get to the playoffs, we beat them. But I'm kind of rooting for the Raiders to pull off some wins, because I don't want Josh McDaniel back as offensive coordinator for New England, because he is absolutely that good as an offensive coordinator.
I don't know if he's
terrible head coach
holding that locker room, but I mean, talent-wise, that team should have been competing.
Oh, they loaded. Loaded.
But,
that is a loaded team offensively.
And I'm telling you, the Colts are, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Colts. I mean, it's not my cup of tea to be following them, but I mean, they pull Matt Ryan and say, they say Matt Ryan's done for the year, but when, how does Frank Reich feel to get fired and then they give Jeff Saturday Matt Ryan back? It's like,
it makes me think that it was Frank Reich that decided to bench Matt Ryan.
Maybe, I don't know, but I'm just saying that this Mike McDaniel, to me, is a very experienced coach, more than people would realize. So I'm hoping that'll help us if we get into the playoffs.
Yeah, he's right. Every failed head coach eventually ends up in saving. You know what? Because Bill O'Brien isn't exactly getting it done right now in Bama. Neither is Pete Golding. So I'm sure we could maybe see, I don't know, Matt Patricia will be Saban's defensive coordinator, and Josh McDaniels will go be Saban's offensive coordinator.
I think they're starting to the change in the rules where you can take sponsor dollars for the players. I think Alabama was always the best paying school off the record. I think they paid the best, so they got the best players. And Nick Saban enjoyed a long run of having the highest recruiting classes.
He still has the highest recruiting class for next year.
I know.
I don't know. Mario Cristobal for the Hurricanes.
Just saying, Bama still has the number one recruiting class. Just saying.
God,
by the way, they want to know what your Twitter handle is. I think, first of all, Leo, that's an insult to our friend Chad here.
I don't even know who Chad Forbes is. So
isn't he the guy who always gave F- to the Dolphins draft class every single year?
Yes.
Oh, God.
He's the guy that gives an F to the Dolphins every single day.
If you know me, I don't grade drafts until like 4 or 5 years after the draft. I don't.
That's funny. Do you want to give your handle out?
Yeah, you guys. Can you type it, or you want me to say it, or
you guys say it.
Can you change your handle on here? Because I always have it, because I have mine here and Ron has his there. Are you able to change it?
I'll put it in somewhere after the show or something, I guess. So I'm a noob. I don't want to slow down the show right now.
So can I just go ahead before the show gets over and
give your announcement?
I'd
almost forgotten about that. Sure, let's hear it. What's the announcement?
The Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl. The Dolphins are not. The Dolphins are not going to lose another game this year.
Wow,
they are not losing another game this year. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they're winning the Super Bowl, and they're going to run over any and every team that gets in their way including probably Buffalo and the Chiefs. They'll probably face them both. It's happening.
You're gonna face Buffalo and the Chiefs if you're going there. I'm telling you right now.
And here's why it's happening. They have the best offense in the NFL. They went from being a one-sided offense to now a team that can both an actual balanced offense. There's not many balanced teams in the NFL that can rush for like 150 and throw for 300. Miami's a team that can do it. But the biggest change in this team is going to be when you see how teams profile. And up to this point, maybe they didn't profile as a Super Bowl team, but here's why I believe they do. The biggest difference isn't just Jeff Wilson, but that those trades mid-season are the reason. I wouldn't even think this if it hadn't been for the additions of Jeff Wilson and Bradley Chubb. But Bradley Chubb coming in with the pressure we're going to get with 4, and Jeff Wilson running the ball, and the stars that they have on offense just doing what they're doing, and the way the something I don't think we've talked about today, maybe I mentioned it once, the way the offensive line is playing right now.
We mentioned
the way
Armstead,
they're keeping Tua clean, they did it against Garrett and Clowney, like without issue, man. They kept Tua completely clean, like clean uniform. And now they're blocking so well for the run. It's just all kind of perfect storm there to have Jeff Wilson come just as the offensive line started coming into their own. They have, in my opinion, 3 Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. T.A., Connor Williams, and Robert Hunt. All 3 of those guys playing at a Pro Bowl level. Will they all 3 go to the Pro Bowl? I don't know. They're all 3 playing at a Pro Bowl level. They've got a great fullback, one of the best in the league.
The best.
They have
granted it's not a crowded field, but still
one of the better pass catching tight ends in the league. They have the best wide receiver duo in the league. Tua's playing the best quarterback in the league.
He's elite now. I really believe it. He's elite. He's an elite quarterback.
He is. They have one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They have one of the best front sevens in the league, in my opinion. They really do. And you have to count the outside. I understand the middle linebacker is a bit of a weakness, and I know what's going on in the secondary. Trust me, I get that. If we never thought coming into the season one weakness would be our secondary, but injury has put us there.
That maybe it's a little Byron Jones comes back.
Yeah, if Byron Jones came back, it would really, really help. But we don't need Byron Jones to come back to get there. These were all the reasons. And when I think about all the Super Bowl teams of the last, 5 years, these are the intangibles that they have. These are the pieces that they have. Great quarterback play. Great offense, a big play potential. That's one of the huge things, dude. Big play potential, the ability to get out of trouble. 3rd and long, 4th and whatever. The 3rd and long, the 3rd down play right now is what is the most clutch for Miami. The way Tua in this offense is operating on 3rd down is like something, I'm just going to say it. It is like something the league has never seen before. The level that they are playing right now on 3rd down. It is unbelievable. They're going to get pressure, and they're going to continue to get pressure on the quarterback, especially with 4. Chubb and Phillips. Phillips is going to continue to get better. He's going to continue to get more confidence. And Bradley Chubb is going to continue to get better in this defense. And like you said, Chad, he's not just a pass rusher. Sets the edge. He stuffs the run. And then in the middle with Sealer and Wilkins and Davis. This team profiles as a Super Bowl team. I think they are just now catching their stride, and you are looking at the best team in the NFL, and they're winning the Super Bowl. And I'm not just saying that for the show. I 100% believe it. I'm sure people can poke holes in it. I have no problem people poking holes in it. That is a hot take of hot takes, right? 10 weeks in. But I truly, truly believe that. And somebody said Sanders' number will get called. He better come through. McDaniel is not stubborn. If Sanders he may get into the Houston game and give it a shot. If he's still having problems, he's going to do exactly what you said, Chad. He's going to go find a guy that can make you 40-yard field goals or less and extra points. He's going to go for it on 4th down inside the 50 the rest of the time because he trusts the offense and Tua, and that offense is playing that good. And that is just truly 100% what I believe. Anybody just want to poke holes in it, go for it. I get it. I'm not going to be mad that somebody else doesn't feel that way. I understand that I'm putting myself out there, but I truly believe it.
I mean, I don't ever predict it because it's all about health a lot of times. So, I mean, for Miami to win the Super Bowl, obviously it starts with Tua has to stay healthy. Tua can't get hurt.
Yep.
I think Terron Armstead has to hold up the rest of the year. And I
can't
think
lose Armstead, can't lose Howard, can't lose Tua,
Xavier
can't
Howard
lose Tyreek, cannot lose Waddle.
And they've been dinged. And yeah, Waddle and Hill obviously are critical components.
I don't think he can lose Jeff Wilson either.
I would add I think you can lose Jeff Wilson a game or two, but because I think Mostert can do it. I just don't think Mostert can take the punishment of a whole game. No, not for the season. Yeah. But I mean, if those guys all hold up, we're legitimate Super Bowl contenders for sure. I think if you're looking for the road there, obviously we've got to beat the Texans off the bye, and we've got to beat San Diego. And if those two things happen, I think we'll be in position to give Buffalo the knockout punch in Buffalo. And that's the true measuring stick right there. We go into Buffalo, beat Buffalo after we've went 2-3 over the next 3 games. Then what are we waving at? That's it.
I was Lewis was waving. I was waving back at him. I thought maybe he was waving
about because I just had to point it out. I know that it's muscle memory, but who did you just say we had to beat, Chad?
Buffalo and San Diego.
What?
San Diego? Or Los Angeles. Sorry. I'll never get used to
I didn't even catch that.
Because muscle memory, man.
We've got to beat the Los Angeles Chargers, I think, and beat the Houston Texans, and then we'll be in position to give the knockout. If we beat Buffalo in Buffalo and win those 2 games, I think we're winning the division. I do. Because I don't believe the New York Jets are going to be able to beat Buffalo and New England. I think they're going to lose one of those games. And I also don't think Buffalo is going to sweep the Patriots. I'm calling that right now. The Patriots are going to go and beat Buffalo one of those 2 games.
They usually do.
And the Buffalo's having a little bit of trouble with Josh Allen. And you don't want to have a quarterback who's made some mistakes throwing picks going against Bill Belichick. And that's just my pick. But if we lose that to the Texans somehow, or we lose to the Chargers somehow, it's going to take more than just beating that Buffalo team. But
yeah, we're not.
That's it.
We're not losing to the Texans, man.
I don't think the Texans want to win, so I think I think they'll gladly lose.
I honestly think that Miami is going to put on like a show of all shows in the first half against the Texans game, because they wouldn't mind seeing a really big gap really fast and maybe give some guys some little extra rest going into that. Into that. So if you don't see them sit TA just for the sake of sitting them to give them the extra rest, which they probably won't, because it's not just the coach thinking, oh, we should sit you. The player wants to play, man. These guys want to play. But I think if they're up 35-0 by like the first say after the first drive of the third quarter, you're going to see TA go to the sideline.
2 players go hand in hand. That's Tua and TA. Even if
he needs his big bodyguard.
You can't risk, like I said, if Tua gets hurt, we probably make the playoffs if he gets hurt in that Texans game. And so I think if you're going to play Tua, you got to play his number 1 protector.
Yeah, if we're up 35-0, I could see him throwing in Teddy or Skyler.
Yeah, I'd like to see Skyler get as many reps as possible, because I think Teddy won't be back next year. I think Skyler Thompson's already earned. Think about next year. I'll make this quick point, with this show, because if people have freaked out a little bit about the cap, right? Because we've been spending some big contracts.
Yeah, but Ron and Troy get mad at me whenever I talk about the salary cap.
Well, it's not the salary cap. It's just like, I'm focused on this year. You're already making next year plans, man.
Well, I'm just pointing out, because people have been freaking out about it, is Miami's ahead of the curve for people. And it's because the cap's going to make an enormous jump, where the NFL is about ready to get a monster deal, because they have Apple competing with Disney, competing with Amazon right now for the NFL Sunday Ticket. And talk about having a trio of companies to be competing against each other. You're talking about
multi-billion-dollar contract.
And that's what the salary cap comes from. And so when their revenue jumps, maybe as much as double, triple, that revenue deal is going to be over what the AT&T Sunday Ticket deal was, the salary cap is going to take a massive jump. And so that's going to cover a lot of what Miami's paid. And you're going to have teams like the Bears right now. Bears have over 100.
Theoretically, we could pay Mike Gesicki and keep Byron Jones even still.
I'm just saying we're not going to be as cap strapped as people think. And where the genius is going to come in is who are the available free agents going to be on the market next year? Because Miami and Philadelphia both just set a precedent in the NFL. If you have a young quarterback and you're trying to get him there, you put two really good receivers. And they did the same exact thing. Miami went and grabbed Jalen Waddle, and then they brought in Tyreek Hill. Philadelphia went and they grabbed Devonta Smith, and they went and got A.J. Brown.
Okay, but Chad, let's be fair. If it still was Brian Flores, we would not be here.
No, we wouldn't. But that's changed the NFL this year because Miami and Philadelphia came out of nowhere, and they're two of the top teams. And with two quarterbacks who had, I mean, it's so similar. Like there were so many detractors. Oh, Jalen Hurts can't get it done. Tua can't get it done. And suddenly those are the two guys in with the top quarterbacks in the MVP race. And it's no secret. Part of that reason is they were given two elite receivers. And that's going to break the bank this year. So who are the elite receivers that are going to be available in free agency? I guarantee they're not going to be Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown. But you're going to see deals comparable to what Tyreek Hill got in the market. And you're going to see a monster deal be for the edge players. And we've went ahead and we've got really good ones on our team under contract. And Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb.
I don't think, like, for example, the Ravens still haven't signed Roquan Smith.
Oh, yeah. But the Ravens they're in a very difficult position because Lamar Jackson's going to be a free agent. And they've got to deal with that before they can deal with anybody else in their cap because they don't know what they have to pay Lamar Jackson. But my point being is there's going to be monster deals this offseason because of the cap jump. And Miami won't be the team making those monster deals because we already made ours, and they're going to look like bargains in a year or two for what we got our guys for.
Some of these deals that are like first, second, third highest paid at their position is suddenly going to be the 10th highest paid at the position, and nobody's going to think twice about it. And you're going to have them locked up for 3 years. Like you're going to have the nucleus of this team locked up through 2024 at least. You're going to have the nucleus of this team.
I mean, you got Tyreek Hill, you've got a Pro Bowl receiver, you got Bradley Chubb, a Pro Bowl DN, Terron Armstead, a Pro Bowl tackle. I mean, those are steals to get those players right now for what they're going to get paid in the coming offseason or two because of the new revenue deal. And so I'm just telling people, like, I'm not too concerned about cap dollars, and because Miami is going to have the best bargain at wide receiver in the league next year. We're going to have Tua Tagovailoa, who may win the MVP, who knows, but he's a top 5 quarterback, right? We're all agreeing he's proven he's elite. We've got him on his rookie deal, and if his backup is Skylar Thompson, look at the amount of money we have tied up in the quarterback position relative to a lot of the teams in the league. Like Denver, for example, look what they're paying Russell Wilson right now. That limits their ability to do the things the Dolphins did.
That's why we got Bradley Chubb. People ask, why was a guy as good as Bradley Chubb available? How could that happen? Because you just went and paid a huge truckload of money to Russell Wilson, and now you can't afford to pay Bradley Chubb.
This is exactly why he's gone from Denver. And so to me, we're really not in too bad a cap space. We're really not going to be where people are worried. And so what we're not going to be doing is making free agent splashes. But, when you get lucky and hit on guys like Kader Kohu and you don't have to go draft a corner in the first round next year, maybe we're okay already, so.
Well, with Chris Greer, I don't know. Maybe we get a splash linebacker. Maybe Roquan Smith ends up in Miami anyway.
He works magic, and I've been busting on him about his offensive line issues. I mean, I'm starting to realize that, maybe we had some linemen. We just didn't know we had some linemen because they were being
the news Jean-Pierre was the offensive line coach.
Yeah, we've got Applebaum, I think, is pretty good. A good line coach. But,
solid. And by the way, his assistant coach, his real assistant coach, is Terron Armstead. Okay,
you know what? No doubt, Armstead is so important.
Armstead coaches other linemen in the offseason.
We got a lot of players that are in there coaching other guys, and we have, and I didn't even really talk about this. Our coaching staff is, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I'll start with that. It's elite. We have
Bavell,
4 or 5 guys. Yeah, Bavell's coached the best of the best when it comes to quarterbacks. We have like 4 or 5 guys that have their roots in offensive line play on the offensive side of the ball, which is, I think, has been critically important for this team and getting the offensive line to play better. Wes Welker. And then on the defensive side, I'm telling you, people thought that Madison and Surtain were just some kind of, nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
No, like
Sam
they
Hasson's
were
been
on here
coaching a long
for a
time,
reason.
Yeah.
And it's
he's
gonna
done
matter.
well.
It's gonna matter. If there's one question mark, if there's one guy who still hasn't answered the question yet of does he belong on this team with all this talent and all, it's Boyer. I still don't know that he's answered that question yet, but he could still answer that question this year.
I still feel like Boyer's getting a bad rap. I really, really do.
It could be. And man, when you
you
win
have
the
to
Super
change-
Bowl,
you have to
when you win the
change your
Super Bowl,
whole-
you
have to change your whole defensive philosophy because your other star corner is still down.
well, him and Needham and Jones, you know what I mean? We're missing a lot of guys, but when you win the Super Bowl, your coaches get looked at to take, and we're not used to that in Miami, right? We're not used to people looking at the Dolphins and thinking, "Oh, I want that offensive coordinator. I want the." Usually, they're getting fired by the end of a few years, looking for jobs.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, honestly, because McDaniel's a huge part of the offense in general, so I feel pretty good about.
Oh, exactly. See, that's the cool part. They can rotate through offensive coordinators all day, and now you had the Shanahan tree, right? And beginneth the birth of the McDaniel coaching tree. One day in 10 years, you'll see a graph about the McDaniel coaching tree. I promise you.
It is the most distinguishing feature between Flores and McDaniel, because I give Brian Flores credit. He is a gifted defensive coordinator.
Absolutely. 100%.
But he failed in Miami because his inability to get along with and get a staff. And it was really bad last year. I mean, when we did the co-offensive coordinators, there was nobody willing to come here because he had fired his OC every single year. And I don't know if you watched the Ryan Fitzpatrick interview from like a month or so ago when he talked a little about Tua, and it was Rich Eisen, and he'd asked.
No, they legit hated each other. They hated each other.
Flores and Tua didn't get along. He kind of, but he also made a kind of a snide comment about Flores where he said there was never an offensive coordinator that was good enough for him. And it had gotten to the point Flores could not put together a good staff. He really couldn't. And that was the number one reason he had to go this year, was our staff would have been terrible this year, our coaching staff. And McDaniel came in, and that's what Shula was good at, and when Miami was so good, he had such good assistants. And you've got to be able to put together a good staff and develop a good staff. And, McDaniel did it immediately. And that's definitely a part of the success this team is having and developing for sure.
Alrighty. And I don't know. I don't know if there's anything left we have to talk about. I mean, we've been talking all night. And honestly, now that Chad's back, I feel like we can talk for like another 3 hours, and we can we still have, ladies and gentlemen, we still have 132 people watching at the same time.
I have
that's
till
the highest numbers we've ever had. Chad brought all of his friends from Iowa, right? And dragged them in here.
I don't think there's many Iowa people here right now.
By now,
we would have 4 hours left. If you guys want to go 4 more hours, I'm trying to stay awake for the launch at 1:04 on Eastern time.
No, not at all.
We missed you, Chad. We really, really have.
Yeah, dude, this has been awesome having you, man. I hope that you'll pop on again at least one more time this season.
Yeah, it's good to be on when we're doing good and not.
No, I want to drag him back in. I want to drag him back in here every week. I want to just make it the Three Musketeers are back. It just feels right, man.
Chad has a life and he enjoys being married.
No, yeah. I've been trying. I've been doing a little coaching and things like that on my own.
Oh yeah! By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Chad is coaching up the next quarterback after Tua.
Corner. Yeah, not corner. He's
corner. Okay, so fine. He can replace Byron Jones.
Yeah. He maybe I'll get him on the show sometime. He can tell you all about inside and outside leverages for.
How old is he?
He's 15 right now. He was a freshman.
Oh my God, I'm getting old.
He's doing well. He's doing well though, right? You think he's gonna have a shot for? I know it's early. He's 15.
So he's light. College. I don't know about that. I mean, not Division I college. That's the athletes are so special. But
are you gonna make him go to Texas A&M Commerce like Cater Cove?
No, he'll probably go to an Iowa college. I'm guessing, but who knows? You never know. He for a freshman, he had a good year. He had some picks and he's got solid. He's worked hard for the last few years working on coverage skills. So it's to me, it's one of the most fun positions to teach. Youth is the corner position.
Are you coaching at the high school level now?
No. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not doing that right now. So the high school is doing well. They have good coaches, so I'm very impressed with them here. But hopefully next few years will go well for him. But it has taken up his time because there's lots of games and practice and helping him with training and those sorts of things.
That's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the progression there. Well, we've seen it. You've shown us stuff over the years.
Yeah, I'll send you pics here and there.
Like since he was like 9 or 10, you've been showing us stuff.
With the fourth pick in the 2030 NFL draft.
Yeah, I don't know about
the Miami Dolphins select Mason Ronnebaum.
Right. Yeah.
How
you
awesome
never know.
would that be?
Oh, I'm not.
Then we'll never see Chad again. Ghosted. Big time, Chad. Big time.
No, Chad's not gonna. Chad's gonna have to avoid talking media because he doesn't want to become like what's his name, LaMelo Ball or whatever the heck his name is. Oh
God, no. Yeah. Please no.
Chad destined to be the next Miko Grimes.
Oh no.
I'm done now if that's the case.
Chad Grimes.
Of a few people I've disliked beyond the football field, that's one of them. Was Miko Grimes. She was.
That's the best though. That one person asked if you were Chad Forbes. You're so Chad Forbes from now on, man. No,
I don't even know who this is. So
you don't go look it up. You'll just be annoyed.
NFL draft bites if you really want to clown on the guy. I haven't seen him tweet all year.
I have him blocked, or he might even have me blocked, but I'm sure if not, I have him blocked. So I would never see his tweets.
I know people like to do it, and it's media and it's content, but I hate draft grades right after the draft. It's so pointless because you don't know for 2-3 years at the earliest.
My father does not appreciate me insulting Chad like that.
Yeah.
All right, we wrapping this up, guys?
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
All right.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And by the way, as Alfredo mentioned in the chat, make sure you're heading over to the 3 yards per carry feed now that this show is over. They just released their newest podcast. So if you're still not done with Dolphins talk, you've got more coming. And as always, make sure that we just got to mention it one more time. PrizePicks.com. They are the sponsor for this show, which has done an amazing job. Thanks to Chad I'm fully giving Chad the credit for all this, for real. So anyway, make sure you go over to PrizePicks.com. All you have to do is pick the over or the under on those individual players' fantasy projections. You can go ahead and pick the over on Tyreek Hill. He's probably going to be a little lower this upcoming week, now in a couple of weeks from now, because he didn't get as many catches. So you can pick the over on him for receptions. Pick the over on Jalen Waddle. Pick the over on Tua Tagovailoa's touchdown passes. Choose the over on Raheem Mostert's rushing yards. You can do all of that stuff. All you have to do is just go use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. They will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Just use that code. They'll give it to you immediately. You're not having to roll over. You don't have to bet it through. It's there waiting for you. All you have to do is go in there and claim it for yourself. Use the promo code 5, FIVE. Go to PrizePicks.com. Jump in it right now. All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, it has been an awesome show. Aladino Mass was one last question. They're from Lake Worth. I'm here, Miami Lakes, Florida. Been here all my life. Chad.
I'm Independence, Iowa. Small town.
There you go, Iowa. See, that's the thing, Iowa.
I'm in Palm Bay, Florida, which is Space Coast, so like near Cape Canaveral. That's why I said there's a big launch tonight, because NASA has that huge rocket that it got delayed twice because of both storms. That's going up. And it's gonna be a night launch, and I'm hoping for clear skies because I'll be able to see it. Like I'm like 35 miles away, and it's 35 miles away sounds far. These night launches, you can see those things from like almost from Miami to Tallahassee. Especially this rocket, because it's one of the real big ones.
Well, let's hope we get to see some Vulcans coming to say "Live long and prosper."
Yeah, like prime directive, right? They have to. I think we have to.
There was no prime directive yet.
Yeah, you have to achieve warp speed for that to happen for first contact. Don't you know anything about Star Trek?
I remember, and I'm sure my father's going to chime in a minute anyway.
Warp speed, and they observe us achieving warp speed. That's when they make first contact.
Chad, please tell me you don't know this stuff, because I don't want to be.
Yeah. I know some Star Trek, but I'm more of a Star Wars person. I don't.
No, that's okay. They don't. They have warp speed in there, but they call it light speed.
Light speed. Yeah, that's right.
Or if you like Spaceballs, ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed. Yeah, that's classic. Showing your age on that one. So I may come down to the Jets game, just so you guys know I'm looking at it right now. I think it's going to be a big time game, so it might be a fun one to be at.
Cool.
Alrighty, my friend. Thank you all for joining me. Chad, thank you so much. Really great to have you on again. I'm going to have to drag you back here kicking and screaming at some point. It's like, no, you can't leave. You can't leave now. All right.
It's fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
All righty. For myself, Chad Ronabon, which, by the way, go Fins 4SB, the number 4SB. That's his Twitter handle if you want to go follow him.
Do you need to? Don't forget the Prize Picks promo right at the end.
I already did.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's right, you did. I blanked out,
man.
You again. That's usually when you're doing that is when I'm looking at my phone.
PrizePicks.com, promo code 5. Thank you all so much for joining us. It has been an awesome show, and we will see you all next week when we do the preview, technically speaking, for Dolphins, Texas. Yes, Jeff Creed. Tua is him. Good night, folks.